Here we are.
All right, are we live? Hey, what's up, geeks and gamers? It's Smudcast coming at you with another video, and today, Geeks and Gamers is very upset about SJWs ruining Star Wars. This man's upset about it, and we're gonna be the Jeremy Simp Defense Squad. Welcome to the show.
Woo! Can't wait. Thanks for the intro there, Glib. Wow. That was too much energy for two streams for me. I'm just too relaxed to pull that one off. But thanks for the intro. Hi guys, thanks for coming back. Appreciate it. I got Glib with me, and of course all this long name of yours. I have to keep referencing. What the hell is it?
Lord Commander Dunn of the Night's Watch of the Death Guard of the Hebrew Associates of.
He might be a fantasy author. I don't know with a name like that. It's just maybe.
We refer to him as Dunn over here.
Dunn is good. I like Dunn. So yes. We are talking about Mr. What is his name? Xanderhal.
Xanderhal, yeah.
It's right on the screen as I'm blind. And
so memorable.
Yeah, the second part of this where he was bashing on Jeremy for his opinion of why Star Wars is the way it is and why he doesn't like it, which is a pretty valid opinion. You could like or dislike anything for any reason, as long as you have evidence and reasoned argument. Great. Xanderhal seems to take that on a personal level because he doesn't like him as a individual. He reacts emotionally. And again, you can react emotionally. I'm not against people having feelings and doing things. It's why you react that way. What is so sacred about Jeremy's reaction that has to be attacked on every level? I don't know. So we're still waiting for a cogent, rational one, though. That's because he attacked his opinion for the hair, and he was trying to find a good example of Star Wars hair. Couldn't do a good job. And then Jeremy's like, yeah, that's just a part of it. That's just one part, as opposed to all the other elements he was describing. So, not the best argument. So let's see what else he has to say next.
It's a good thing. Usually you kind of have to prove, like you have to, if you're making the argument something is bad, you have to make the argument as to why it's bad. Why are these characters a bad thing? Why is diversity in these movies a bad thing?
Okay, I mean, that's a pretty general question. And we say when anyone has an agenda, it doesn't have to be diversity. When anyone has an agenda, a producer, a writer, a developer, and it's not done in a subtle way, then you're going to get what's called preaching, where the message of the movie is superseded by the soapbox that the writer is standing on or the producer is standing on. It's like, hey, look at this diversity hire. Hey, look at this person of color. Look at this haircut. Look at this transgender. Like all of these elements you can have in your stories, but you don't hit us over the head with it. And that's where it shows. That's where we know exactly what's going on. It's like, oh, this is why this is happening. That's why when you look at a Mary Sue or any character of fanfic, we say, okay, this is obviously a power trip or power fantasy by the author. And that's exactly what we got in the sequel trilogy with Star Wars. So that sort of lends itself to what's going on in Disney with all the other productions. And it really does show.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I can make the case why it's a good thing. People who are in those identities, who fit those identities, probably feel like they can connect to those characters more and feel like they're represented. And there's been plenty of studies to show that when you feel the case why it's a good thing, people who are in those identities, who fit those identities, probably feel like they can connect to those characters more.
I'm sure they do, but you know what? That's like 1, maybe 2% of the population, which doesn't account for the actual fans of the show or whatever they're watching.
And feel like they're represented. And there has been plenty of studies to show that when you feel like you're represented in media, you connect with that media a lot more. What's wrong with EFAP? It's just reactionary dribble, usually. Like, it's sort of like circle jerk all day and like shit.
Okay, so EFAP is reactionary drivel as opposed to normal reactionaries, which I guess are okay. As if this guy has a positive view of people doing reaction videos. So I guess we're drivel because we're half of EFAP, or we're like a derivative of EFAP.
I am proud of my drivel. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We drivel very well. Thank you, sir.
We have the best drivel. Tremendous.
Talk people they don't like. They never like really engage with people that disagree with them.
I disagree, sir. We engage with every single person we try to have on that is reasonable. I haven't actually reached out to Xanderhal. He does sound somewhat polite, aside from the swearing in here and there, but that's fine. He's not overly excitable like Vosh. He's not.
He sounds aggressive enough to engage. That's my thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to him, but so long as he chilled out, stop calling us names, I think that would be great. I wouldn't mind that. I'd have him on. See, I'm pretty open with these things. It doesn't bother me whether they're on or not, but I will reference their tag on Twitter or on YouTube, or I'll message them directly. And sometimes we get people to respond. Sometimes they join the chat. That's great. I don't mind that. It's just that we make the effort and they don't come on. We got lucky with John because he was he's just a nice guy. And he's trying, he's obviously much far left-leaning than we thought, but he is able to have a conversation because he wants to learn. He actually cares. Whether that will change his mind is another story. Whether anything we say is going to have no effect is another story. But he is able to have a civil conversation. And that's all we did. We didn't talk about specific examples. I think maybe LiteratureDevil tried to, but we went for 5 hours having a good time, trying to get to know each other. That was it. We can do that with Xander if he, wants to.
He's just going to consider us to be reactionary jerks or whatever.
Right.
So
I would imagine so. Yeah.
He'll come in here and try and be like, so why do you say this? Blah, 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 blah. Dig some shit out. And then we'll just have to be like, all right, so when are you going to get over that you have to come in here and fight everybody? When are you ready to have a regular conversation?
And it should be rather easy to have a conversation on aesthetics of why something is good or bad. You could have any lens. If this guy likes, intersectional feminism or whatever, you'd be like, okay, great. What's so great about that? Tell us why it's good. And we could have lots of conversations. I could have great conversations from my experiences in Canada and Toronto, very multicultural city, multicultural people and culture. Lots of run-ins with crazy, angry, and dispassionate folks as well. So I'm open. It's no problem. I'd be happy to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Here's Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. Assuming RSCE equals relatability is kind of racist. Also, the Toxic Brood invited Quinton on. Oh, yeah, that's right. They did. I remember that.
They invite. I was going to say that they didn't invite some people on, but I think that it's mostly been people rejecting coming on.
Yes, exactly. Plus, they don't want to. They don't want to do the full, 6 hour or whatever Mahler would do. They might be intimidated by the crew. But as far as I know, everyone on crew would be polite unless they say something crazy. Like when Major Lee came on, that was just nuts because Major Lee is kind of crazy. So
he hasn't came on that huge.
Sorry? I didn't quite get you there, Dunn. But okay. Yeah, they start off fine and civil until they say something nuts. And you're like, all right, we're going to have this conversation now. And they started going into the video and why it's crazy. But I would not take Xander's video and go line by line like we're doing now. That would be redundant. We don't have to do that. I would just get to know him. That's all. That's all I would do. We cannot change people's minds just having a conversation. We can try, but we're not having I don't want to make an argument. I don't want to have, I'm teaching someone a lesson about how to critique art because obviously they made up their own minds on how to do that.
Just sort of like a reactionary circle jerk. Yeah, it's basically all that's all he's doing. He's just sort of he has no reasoning for why diversity is bad. It's just a buzzword they can bring up whenever they have no arguments for why they don't like something. They can just say,
why is diversity good? Simple answer. Or simple question. All you have to do is show us, and then we'd say, hey, where's all these diversity pieces of media out there that are doing really well? Let's see those stats. How many shows out there that are diversity centric? You know, you have like a woman of color who has a broken leg or something, and then there's a man of trans nature who has like, I don't know, a cyborg skull or something, like something really crazy, like a science fiction fantasy. Where are all those shows? I'd like to see some and see how they're doing with normal romance stories, slice of life stories. Pick something from fantasy, pick something from science fiction, police procedural, like pick primetime stuff. See where all those intersectional stuff is happening. I'd like to see the stats, see how they work. Or how about just standard shows for typical people, like was those black dramas? There's all kinds of those now. We've had those since the 90s. So, like, what exactly is the problem? What exactly is the good thing that we're getting at? I really want to know, because if we find that out, there's probably a market for it. And then Hollywood would go, oh, let's make some money off this. And that would work. That would be great. Everyone wins.
Yeah,
Diversity
I agree.
quotas. I said one of those buzzwords. It's supposed to make people mad about things, right? Yeah, we did it. There we go.
And I do not trust Luke.
Okay, so diversity quota. Does anyone care? How many black people, how many white people, how many yellow people there are in the show?
They do.
Why?
It's really frustrating.
I remember...
Why? I don't know, because they feel like they need to balance it out. I mean, they're all obvious about what their intentions are. The thing that's hard to discern is why they feel like they're so right that they can't be talked out of anything. They feel like they don't even think that we're worth discussing. We're just chuds. Reactionary chuds.
I'm trying to think of shows which are somewhat popular that didn't last too long, like Firefly. Like, what was so special about that is they thought the scenario and the future world through. Like, okay, most people speak Chinese or sorry, not Chinese, Mandarin. So that's why the captain speaks Mandarin. It's like, oh yeah, okay, nothing to do with diversity or inclusivity. It's like, no, I think in the future, because there's lots of people right now who are Asian descent, a lot of people in the future are going to be of Asian descent. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Great.
Yeah.
Simple. You see how it works? You just explain an element with something from reality or something from fantasy or whatever. Very simple stuff. So that's what we need. We need well-written stories. And if you want to throw in a character who's this or that denomination, fantastic. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, and stop confusing the arguments about what we're saying, what you're trying to do. It has to be consistent. It can only be one set of things. It can't be that, it's artist's choice, but also there's a mandate that we have to have certain things. If this individual artist has a mandate and they're doing their own thing, then there's no problem with that. If an individual artist is doing something and they don't have a mandate and they're just hiring based on whoever's the best, there's no problem with that. What the problem only comes into context if you have a notion in the beginning that there's a problem to start with. If you just notice that things are the way that they are and you treat it like an open market, then whoever shows up and whoever you choose artistically will benefit and you'll have the best product, right? Am I missing a step?
No, I like to compare it to what's popular. Like, I think what's that show's been on for like 14 years. NCIS, it's an American show. And
yeah,
I don't think there's a large diversity quota there or group of people of color. I think when major actors left, they replaced them with other characters, but there's no one cares that Abby was replaced with a black girl or Michael, what's his name, was replaced with a Latin man. Like, I don't think anyone cared. So I don't see the problem. And if it's done in a natural way, it's like, yeah, it feels like you're just hiring someone to replace someone else. Like, yeah, exactly. That's what organizations do. Done. Finished. You've met your quota. Yeah. Anywho, here's a super chat from Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. Diversity quotas are the opposite of meritocracy. I don't know if they're the opposite, but there's certainly something which doesn't help meritocracy. It's the same with Canada's government. It's like, I'm going to hire you because we don't have a black person or a Chinese person or whatever. And we have, if you ever...
Yeah, it feels very tokenistic.
Oh, exactly. I mean, if you ever apply for a job, most jobs, even in the government, you have to state, what are you? Are you Caucasian? Are you this or that? How old are you? How long have you been here? Do you have any disabilities? Are you a protected person, like you're a Native American, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You don't have to fill this out, but they'd really like it if you did. It's like, why is that?
Lucasfilm at all. So with Ahsoka, I love this character, and I don't really want to see this character ruined. Now, by all accounts, from people that have seen these episodes,
I promise you, what's ruining the character of Ahsoka is them trying to put her in everything Star Wars related now. The fucking Mandalorian, where she's gonna be played by fucking Rosario Dawson, who literally like physically assaulted a trans dude. This is true, by the way. There's like, you can go look it up. I might actually go over it on stream.
Is that true? I have no idea. So,
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Case. What I understand is that her family, I think it was like somebody in her family. It was some kind of weird outrage. Let me look that up.
So this is for season 2, I imagine. So I have no idea about that show or who's playing what. So don't think there were any Jedis in the show either. Yeah, I have no idea.
It's an alleged assault of a trans man, and she was accused of it.
Was she
Still
bribed?
saying it's alleged.
So she wasn't
that
actually
man's
cuffed.
name was Albert Einstein.
Sometime. Rosario Dawson had hired a trans guy to be like a housekeeper, and her and her family repeatedly misgendered this trans dude, and then eventually physically assaulted him, and he's filing a lawsuit against Rosario Dawson, who is now going to be playing Ahsoka Tano in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Okay, so she's going to criminal court over this scuffle they had at her home for whatever reason. Really? Criminal court tends to happen a little faster than civil, depending on the jurisdiction, but we would have heard news about that by now.
Yeah.
And that would have been a big no-no on her resume, and she would have been in the news. So, okay, maybe it's slow wherever she is. I have no idea, but haven't heard anything.
Hey, 1 second. Sorry, I'm gonna be right back. I just need to hand something. It'll just take me a minute.
Sure. Let's keep going.
It fucking sucks, but at the end of the day, it's not a big enough controversy to have her not play the character. So, canonically now, Ahsoka is a transphobe. Kind of sucks, but...
No, she's not. Oh my god, here we go. We're attacking the actors before they're even on screen for their personal, possibly just civil or criminal life, which they may be justified in doing. We have no idea. We don't know the context. Yeah, if you want to judge a person that way, go right ahead. But I tend to judge them on what they're worth, which is what they're doing in life. So if they're an actor, how do they act? Not how do they treat their significant other. You know, maybe Mike Tyson was a horrible husband and boyfriend, but you know what? Really good boxer. None of my business what he does with his free time.
I imagine that's why Geeks and Gamers likes her so much.
these characters are not.
Oh yeah, he's Jeremy likes her because she attacked a man or woman or whatever. What? What kind of strange? Where did you come to that conclusion there, Xander? Can you show us the logic there? Or is everything that Jeremy likes is bad?
Not SJW characters per se, meaning the character themselves don't act like that, which is fine. And that's
Okay.
a good sign. That's
Okay.
a very good sign. But the evidence is there that they are trying to pull people in because they've already proven that even when you give them the benefit of the doubt, like I did with The Force Awakens, they are just setting you up. It's all a big...
I don't know what Geeks and Gamers was doing back when The Force Awakens came out, but do you guys want to bet that he gave The Force Awakens a benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
He did.
I imagine every Star Wars fanboy that is really excited over something new would give everything the benefit of the doubt. They check out everything. and then they turn on their or they'd wear their fanboy hat, and then they take the fanboy hat off, and then they put on their thinking hat or whatever you want to call the logical part of your brain, and went, some of this doesn't add up. How is Ray so strong? Da, 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 da. And then why is it so similar to episode 4? Lots of other observations could be made. So
My problem was I actually didn't watch the Force Awakens until 2 months before The Last Jedi.
wow.
So I just wasn't able to go. For I was on a LDS mission for 2 years. So what happened was I didn't really get inundated with a lot of the criticisms because I just barely seen it, and then I saw The Last Jedi, and it was kind of opened my eyes later on how bad both were.
Yeah, it doesn't take a super fan to say, oh, wow, Star Wars is weird again. What happened and why? And they, oh, we watched it again. And you go, oh, that's why. The writing sucks.
Yeah, my problem was I was actually listening to people like Just Right and School of Movies, and then I realized, oh, wow, they're full of crap.
They have their good days, and then they have a lot of misses, at least from our perspective, just because of when we address criticism about things being good. You're like, why is this good? It's like, oh, that's not a reason why it's good. And then why did you say the exact opposite when episode 9 came out? I haven't done that.
The exact opposite when Game of Thrones lapsed in on itself.
Yeah, I heard about that. I haven't watched those. I'm not interested in that too much, but yeah, odd takes, very odd takes from those folks. Here's a super chat from DJM Voices. Thank you, sir. Would it kill this guy to get his facts straight, collect his thoughts, or at least put a noise gate on when he's not speaking? Hey, you know what? I do that sometimes too. I'm guilty of that as well. I don't have all the facts, but again, this is his video, and he's got no one near him to bounce ideas off or to confirm things. So that's kind of just fault of being alone. So, yeah, it's part of the problem of being a streamer that's independent.
Yeah.
Here's another super chat from Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. Jeremy has said he used to like TFA, but the rest of Disney's garbage made it worse for him from what I remember. Also, fries or onion rings. Okay, I love both, but it depends where you're getting your fries, whether you're talking fries or frites in a steak, whether you're talking about onion rings from a fast food joint or onion rings from a local bar. I have quite a number of calamari rings and bars that I go to, which I used to go to, obviously, which I frequent, that I'd be, really in love with. Haven't had the onion rings in a while, so I'd have to say fries, just in general. They're simpler.
Same. I concur with that. I especially love the JCW's fries, including cheese fries.
Ooh, cheese and fries. That's a deadly combination. You got your potato going, you got the cheese along the potato, and you bake it in oil or fry it in oil.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, it's good, and I don't usually like cheese on stuff other than pizza.
Well, you put that cheese or a condiment on anything, it sort of elevates any meal. I always say cheese is a meal by itself, but if you put it on something, it makes something bad edible and something edible good. And the better you get, the better cheese you put on. But some really great cheese can overpower a dish, so you have to be very careful with your condiments, gentlemen. Very, very careful. Or you get a mouthful of cheese.
Well, if you're in Utah and the weekend of October, my dad has a thing called Cheese Fest where he gets a bunch of different kinds of cheeses.
Well, I do that every week. I do that every week, sir. It's hard.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's hard because of the lockout, but yeah, I have at least I have 3 or 4 cheeses going at one time, and
He gets like 7 or something.
oh wow, he's really into it. That's good stuff. I don't think I can go
he's
past
really
5. Yeah, because then you're just eating cheese, right? That's your meal. It's cheese and
Well,
water.
essentially, it's like a party where we invite the neighbors over, and like he has like different kinds of cheeses, and he just lays them out and lets anybody take a sample.
Cool. No, that's awesome. I would love a neighbor like that. Man, I'm pretty jealous or pretty selfish with my cheese, so I'd be like, yeah, you can't eat that. That's mine.
Yeah.
All the blocks of
We've just
Parmesan.
gone off on cheese.
Yeah, we should stop talking about cheese. Let's go back to the movie or the video.
Before it came out. Go ahead and type 1 in chat if you think he gave The Force Awakens the benefit of the doubt before it came out.
Okay. He gave Force Awakens the benefit of the doubt because he's a fanboy and he loves Star Wars, as I think most people did.
So far, the only people that I've seen that actively hated The Force Awakens was world-class BSers and a guy that you guys covered a little bit ago who was talking about how you can take good elements from even bad or cringy scenes.
I'm trying to remember that guy. Not ringing a bell.
He sent us a video, or at least an audio recording of himself.
Oh, that guy. Oh, he was cool. Yeah. No, I still have it. You're right. He was the guy who actually reads scripts, and he has his own Facebook group, and he reads them every day. And that's why he made that video, because he wanted to differentiate between what was an artistic change or an artistic element and what was just what you thought was bad, because we weren't expecting it. But yeah, no, he was really cool. I just forget his name, and I wanted to get him on. He still wants to come on. We haven't figured out a date because he's busy. But we would have great conversations about quality and what's good and bad scripts. And he seemed really smart.
Love to chat with him. I think it'd be fun, especially interested to see why he hates The Force Awakens worse than he hates The Last Jedi.
Yes, he was just giving those as examples. Like, he wasn't talking specifically about those films or Star Wars just because it was popular, but he's just using it as an example. So, like, he was reasonable, and he's a nice guy, and he's friendly, and he reached out to us with a phone clip. Like, he recorded himself talking for 10 minutes, which goes to show you how much he cares about his topic, which is great for some random guy on the internet just critiquing his video, which he actually watched.
I want to see how many 1s I see. Type a 1 if you think he actually did that. It's going to be all 2s. Yeah, I'm going to call bullshit.
Jeremy didn't do a thing I think he did. What do you guys think? Yeah, we agree. Okay, that's great. Let's speculate more, shall we?
You guys smell that, chat? Smell...
Wow, he's copying Vosh's shtick. What an amazing person this person is.
So performative. It just rings so far.
Yeah, I mean, if I was more expressive, I might do that too, but I just don't have the energy. I'd rather try to make... I'd try to rather be rational. I don't know why you guys hang around and listen to me, but I just, boring, monotone.
To say, what can I say?
Smells like bullshit.
Setup. Until Kathleen Kennedy's gone, it is hard to trust anything. So when you start to see anything that's any concern whatsoever, you have to call it out with Lucasfilm because they...
Prepare yourselves, chat. Everything is SJW. Everything is feminism. Everything is liberal propaganda.
I don't think so. I think he's just calling out Kathleen Kennedy on that specific line, but that lends itself to the female or SJW mindset in this regard. So unless he explicitly states it.
Yeah, especially since Kathleen Kennedy specifically hired that lady from Doll. Was it Russian Doll or something like that? It's very much seems like this person is an aggressively blunt personality, even as people like Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson go.
Right, and I don't think that made the executives very happy because they weren't consulted properly, especially considering the lockouts and what have you. And there was a news item about that, of there being an emergency meeting of what to do with this person and her project. Because if they are doing a Star Wars that is predominantly female, and that's the selling point, you've already lost, geez, I don't know, more than half of the audience you were expecting to get.
I'd probably say like 66%, like
Like 66.
To the
Yeah,
audience.
it's pretty high up there. So, guys, when you're making anything and you want like female centric or male centric, don't say, hey, this is my male centric story. This is my female centric story. Just say, I'm doing a fun action, whatever, this or that. Give us reasons to care about your characters who happen to be whatever you should make them. Don't play the race card. Don't play the alien card. Don't play the sex card. Don't do that. You want good writing, focus on what matters. Unless you're doing, I don't know, some sort of action adventure porn or something, then it's exactly what you should be doing. Oh, we got hot chicks. They're gorgeous. Then you know exactly why you're doing it.
And you have to point it all out. He fucking did the meme. That's actually, for those of you guys that don't know, there's this quote by Anita Sarkeesian that...
Oh my goodness. Who would ever want to remember what Anita Sarkeesian said and be taken seriously?
Yeah, she's a joke.
But he did.
Vanessa thinks that she's a joke.
Oh, I got a super chat from Lucas. Okay, this is gonna hurt my soul, but it's just words, right? Smud, I need you to say Mass Effect Andromeda is my favorite game. It is a masterpiece. I am in awe of BioWare. Okay. Mass Effect Andromeda is my favorite game from BioWare because I've yet to play it, and it's a masterpiece on so many levels just by thinking about it. How's that for ambiguity? And I felt pretty good with that.
All right. I am back.
Hey, Glib. He's quoting Anita Sarkeesian. It's going to be great.
Oh, she's my favorite patriarchal man.
Don't you love it when the patriarchy is down on Earth and blessing us with their disguises and strange philosophies?
I love how we live in a patriarchal society or whatever. Susan is the boss, too.
Yeah, they're great.
So our boss, we live in a matriarchal streaming culture.
We just bow down to our female counterparts.
Alinity can literally flash herself and has to ask to be banned more than a day. That's how favorable this culture is to one set of people, and I wonder why that reason is. Okay, thought experiment. This is something that I thought would be pretty fun for everybody to play. Imagine if gender, sex, or whatever was not recognized by society, and everybody was just actually objectified, and humans were just like, "Oh, you're a boobs. You're a penis person." You know what I mean? And it was just about compartmentalizing that. So it was all about a transaction, and people would then be defined by their actions. They'd be defined by what they offer people. They'd be defined by all of the other things that people don't want to talk about because they're too busy talking about identity. They're too busy talking about what your symbolic meaning is based on how you were born, where you were brought up, what nation's flag you wave, all that stuff. Instead of like what services you do to other people, how you treat other people, what you do for the group of people that you're with. So just think about that next time. Instead of thinking about if someone's a Twitch thought or whatever because they're a girl, just think about what they do. Judge them just by what they do. And then don't even judge them morally, just appraise them. Just be like, okay, yeah, I like It's a Gundam. What does It's a Gundam do? Well, he makes great commentary videos. He's very funny, and he's really talented at painting things. He's a great costumer. He can fix motorcycles. Like, here's a dude that's the man, and he's not going to get any credit, and that's his Joker persona. He knows he's not going to get any credit. Meanwhile, you have someone literally like Alinity that he criticizes and gets demonetized over, and she doesn't have to do anything but stand there and look cute and do a little dance and play a game, maybe.
Or when Jenny Nicholson's Nights came after Eve for only talking about her for 3 hours out of an 11-hour video.
Oh, Jenny.
Hello, children. It's a Gundam. Sorry, I had to put it on him.
No,
I
he's
think
great.
somebody
He's
get on
pretty
here.
funny. Yeah.
Somebody get on here might be Cartoon Saloon, Digital Saloon, or Jen. Jedi video apart with very cool facts and logic, very calm facts and logic, and then did the same to School of Movies.
Well, I really
I'm
want
glad
to
you
hear.
like that impression, Lucas. That's all for you.
Oh, he's giving
My God.
giving the jebs away. Okay.
Giving the jibs. Remember to ring your jibs. Anyway, let's get back to Xanderhal.
And Anita Sarkeesian quotes. Here we go.
Melnita Sarkeesian.
That's like everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to call it all out, or you have to point it all out. That's like a quote from Anita Sarkeesian. And ironically enough, the reactionaries who hate her so much have just like a fucking throbbing hate boner for her, are always the ones who do the flip side of that.
I don't know. We kind of laugh at her because she's ridiculous. I don't really hate her.
Oh yeah.
I also think that we can discern what is SJW and what isn't. I don't think that anybody claims that things that they like are SJW, because usually things that they like are not pointed at them like a barrel of a gun. Like, I'm trying to think of something progressive that's just subtly progressive. That's like it's just slipped in there and you didn't even notice it.
Well, let's just use the hairstyle, the shaved buzz cut with colored top hair. I mean, that's kind of punkish, so it could be considered punk. It could be considered SJW.
Well, the cyberpunk stuff, obviously, like we all like the cyberpunk stuff, but like, for example, that's a good, because it's so subtle that it's hard for me to even think about. You know what I mean? Like, we don't classify the SJW diversity stuff in the same stuff that is just naturally diverse. So Lethal Weapon, we don't even think about that. We're not, oh, it's diverse casting, because we just go, oh yeah, Danny Glover is really good, and I like Mel Gibson. That's how we think. We don't think, oh, you know, Rami Malek, he's going to be Mr. Robot and all that stuff. He's Egyptian. We just go, oh, Rami, he's a great actor, and this is his best role that he's had so far. I don't think that. I think that they're so myopic in their view that they think that we're always angry and hateful about the SJW stuff, and we're always calling stuff SJW, so we can't, you know, discern. And what I think is that's projection. They can't discern that we're literally silent about everything that we like. So like 90% of things we just don't have negative things to say about. It's only this small 10% of people that are trying to make things worse in whatever community that they go into. If it's YouTube and they're doing false flag stuff, if it's in the movie business where no, I'll do you one better. If it's in the anime translation business where they're trying to alter the words of the dialogue, or it's the movie business where Disney's trying to censor their own movies. Like, this is alteration, censorship, and authoritative control that we hate and we call SJW, because the entire purpose is backed by social justice and intersectionality. If we're not assigning this correctly, please tell me how we're not assigning this correctly. And how can we be wrong if literally everything is racist and sexist and they're going to call it all out? So literally everything she says is going to be SJW if that's where she's coming from. Is there anything that Anita says? Is there anything as a part of her art form critique that isn't about intersectionality? I don't think so.
Can you imagine?
So how can we be wrong categorically?
Yeah, can you imagine saying everything is one way? Like, she would have an endless supply of videos to make on YouTube or blog posts to write saying, oh, here's XYZ, this is horrible, it's sexist, it's racist, it's non-intersectionality, and then just go to the next blog, any random blog, boom, this is bad because of XYZ, and just keep going and going and going. She would be making crazy money. She'd be going nuts. She wouldn't have time in the day to list it all.
It's funny to me because a lot of these things like racism and sexism, like, let's be very up forward. We know that they're not moral things. We know that they get in the way of civics and society. We know that they're a problem. They're not illegal, though. So everything that has to be done to deplatform somebody that has any kind of opinion that could be considered racist or sexist. And by the way, most of the people that are not filtered out automatically by society, that are just like people that are going off and saying the N-word all over the place, like, nobody gives a, nobody listens to that person seriously. But then you have people that are on the borderline that are trying to bring up like science. And those are the people that are deplatformed immediately, but nothing that they're saying is illegal. So the only way that you can get rid of them is censoring them. So the primary weapon that this group of people has to deplatform and get rid of their opposition is to try and do it through industrial level censorship, corporate censorship, occupying spaces, and introducing new HR type agendas, having new platforms in schools to teach new types of ways of thinking and stuff like that. They can't win an argument. They can't get the law to change for them. So they have to try and brainwash people and manipulate the systems that people are accessing to promote their ideas, whether or not they're good or not. And their idea of racist and sexist is nowhere near ours, because they always, whenever you try and say something is that somebody's being racist against this Russian person, and you're like, well, they're white. They're not in a position of they're in a position of power and privilege in society. And you're like, which society? Is that Earth? Is that America? We don't know who you're referring to, first off. And then number two, it's funny eternally that the Slavs are named and slavery are named from the same root, and referring to the hundreds of years of slavery that was going on with the Ottoman Empire and all these different things. Those people don't matter, because in American politics, there's only one narrative that they try to apply to everything. What does American racism have to do with any racial issue in Canada that had nothing to do with America? Do you know what I mean? Like, or Mexico. Mexican racism has almost nothing to do with American racism, and their cultural issues that have to do with castizo and mestizo and indio, that's their version of their own thing. That has nothing to do with our history of how to deal with the Native Americans and that kind of thing. It's everybody's own individual issue. And they're not actually interested in solving it. They're interested in using it as a well to keep making money. And that's why they're the grifters. And so it's so funny to listen to all this projection coming from their side, like, oh, we're so stupid. We can't discern their entire agenda. Like, I'm way, way smarter than they think I am, and I'm not even that smart. So it's just an insult to my intelligence that people are going to go out there, and it's an insult to my intelligence that Xander has so many subscribers. But I guess people that are brainwashed for this existence are totally keyed into everything that he's saying, and they're just going to go, "Yeah, he's right. I agree."
I got to read this super chat out. Thanks, Tickleson. Thanks for the Last of Us leak vid, Smudboy. I wasted 8 minutes watching someone else rambling about it's not great without actually saying anything. Well, I do my best. I try to assess the things and do a objective analysis with what I'm given. So this comes from a non-fan, so I was completely uninterested in the topic. But
hey, Xanderhal is in the chat and he wants to debate. There we go. Let's put our principal to the test. He's right there.
Hey, Xanderhal. Yeah, no, we'd be happy.
That's much better than this.
I don't mind having you on. I wouldn't want to debate for the sake of it, because that would be unnecessary. We're just...
Well, we'd have to figure out what the debate would be about, even if we were to do that. But if you wanted to discuss this video and any of the things that were involved,
I don't know if that's a great idea, because it's like we're watching it right now. He's already said what he's wanted to say. Does he have to double down on everything? I don't know if that's really important. But yeah, we'd be happy to have you on. Just go to Discord and join me and send me a message. Let me just check.
That earns a lot of respect points in my mind.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's totally cool. Okay, listen, guys, in the chat, chill, all right? What is going on? I want everyone to behave themselves here. Whoever's spamming, I'm going to block you, all right?
Oh dear, we have another spam bot fight.
Yeah, I'm one more away.
You to go in there?
I'm one. Yeah, well, I'm one more away. So. Okay, we're gonna keep going. We'll wait on Xander, but yeah, just keep going.
Good sport.
Everything is SJW. Everything is liberal propaganda. Everything is, if they're a Nazi, Jewish propaganda, and they have to point it all out.
Okay, wait.
If somebody is a Nazi, they do assume that everything is Jewish propaganda. That's one point of it. But go on.
I've yet to see a Nazi who does that, but again, I don't know too many, if at all, any. So,
Oh, they do. Everything is. The Jews are at the Jews are the scapegoat of all ills in society as far as the Nazi Foundation goes.
Really?
But also that it's because they're the head of all the other sub-organizations too.
They're all Nazis. This is all connected. We have no idea who they are, where they are. No name tags.
But yeah, no, it's obviously Nazis. There's not that many Nazis actually running around. What you have right now is a lot of disaffected people that want to have nationalism in their country and have an identity that's something like their fathers and mothers before them. And that gets exploited by people. There's a lot of honeypot Nazi organizations. Almost every single one of them, the American Vanguard, Adam Waffen, they're all run by like the FBI or people. So there's not really a lot of Nazis. There's no Nazi party that really functions or anything like that. What you have are a lot of edgy boys on poll.
When you say poll, you mean
4chan, 8chan,
right? Yeah, okay, I got you.
Any image board.
All right, Xander, all you got to do, join my Discord. It should be in the description. Say hello on my server. I'll see you. I'll public or private message you. Then I'll let you join the chat. That's how it works.
You want to mod me so I can delete this?
Okay, one sec. I got to do all that crap in the background, but I can do that. If you guys could hold on for like 5 minutes while we get Xander on here, that'd be great.
Richard Spencer and Nick Fuentes. Richard Spencer's a plant, yo.
Really?
Yeah, there's no way. I've seen data that suggests that he has some sort of CIA context with a guy named William Regnery. Come on, guy.
Well, if you say so, I don't know.
I don't know anything about Nick Fuentes. I don't pay attention to him, so I have no idea. As far as I know, he's like a Paul Joseph Watson with a better undercut.
I have no idea any of these people except from Paul Joseph Watson. That's the only people.
No, I spent more time lurking and a long time on this stuff, so I'm very familiar with it.
Oh, interesting.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find. There's some good people I think that would disagree with like my overall understanding of some of this internet stuff, but I'm falling to line with a lot of the deeper understandings of this ancient culture of memes and bullshit. Internet serious business.
All right, Glib, give me your link to your YouTube, and I'll let you moderate stuff.
I'm gonna type in the chat.
Sure. I know I gave it to Shiny, then I took it off. I was like, oh, how do you do that? I'm YouTube stupid.
Stupid, you're just ignorant. There's a difference.
Well, giving people access to moderation is not a big deal. I just don't know how it works. Which is probably why I give it to people. Still no message from Xander, man. You just got to join the Discord. It's a link in the description, man. Oh, he did. Good.
And I'd be happy if the debate situation, if he actually date setting up channel. I know that's not really.
What did you say?
Did you hear what I said?
I couldn't hear you. Cut out.
Oh, I said that if he did want to debate at a future date on his channel, then I'd be open to doing something like that on a different topic, on an actual topic, instead of this kind of meandering stream stuff.
Concur with that.
Okay, 1 second there, Xander. Just getting you set up.
I agree. Akosh. We seem pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I think people that know me in real life think that I'm kind of a stubborn guy. I'm a very introverted person. I'm not very emotionally extroverted, that kind of thing. But I think at the end of the day, life is short, and I don't really want to get into any fights where people feel like they want to kill each other, because it's kind of a waste of our time. So I like solving problems.
Well, if we get to talk about Jeremy, because we may as well. I don't know if we want to have a debate. I'd rather just have a conversation about the video, because we're doing it right now.
We'll get Jeremy on here too. No.
I just like having all the opinions come from the primary source. It's always easier that way. Yeah, so Jeremy, you have to approve my friend request, and I can join you. Yeah, I think I could add you to. We'll start up a new chat. That'll be easier. See if I can do that. Okay. That might be. Yeah, let me just do that this way.
Yeah.
I much prefer to have ask questions of exactly do you hope is like the
What was that? Okay, I'm just adding people. Where is it?
Wait, you don't want Jeremy on? Because we got RK Outpost in it. My man, how you doing, bro?
Who are we talking about? I have no idea who that is.
Ryan from RK Outpost. He's a Star Wars channel. Well, not just a Star Wars channel, obviously, but that's how I found out about him.
Is he related to Jeremy? Like, what is he?
Yeah, they hang out a lot. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if he's actually like producing Geeks and Gamers stuff. My lore is not up to date. I keep forgetting, but he's on a lot of that stuff.
Okay, then if that's the case, I have no problem anyone coming on as long as the topic is the same. I don't want to start randomly talking about random topics. But
Right. I'm surprised that people are having tech problems because my microphone seems to be coming through on my end pretty well. Let me know if I'm cutting out, okay?
sorry about this. I'm just randomly adding people and it's not working very well.
Okay.
Call you Fab Tech Support. Darkfire Ice. In the meantime, you said Slav and slave do not come from the same etymology. If I'm misinformed, you should definitely correct me. So in chat, let me know about that. Because I was under the impression that they actually do, but it may not.
Okay, so what we're going to do is disconnect from this server and reconnect in voice chat with Xander in his little, we just made our little group right here. Okay?
Ready?
Gotcha.
And a
All
bit.
right.
See you later.
See you guys later. Okay, there we go. I think that should be working.
Hello there.
Hello, hello.
Hi there.
We're back. Hey, Xander, how's it going, man?
That's going all right. I was streaming some Terraria every few days, or between politics streams, I'll do like a chill gaming stream with no politics, and be like a 80 to 100 viewers stream, just a chill out thing. And somebody in chat told me that someone named Smudboy was covering me, so I came in, and it seems like you have some disagreements, so I thought we could go over them.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. Always love it when people come on board that we have differing opinions with. We're all pretty friendly here. Obviously, if you're not around, we're going to bash the crap out of you, but that's just the nature of criticism.
Yeah, if you're doing like a live format, it's fun to just sort of like shit on people and do ad homs because it's good for the audience. But like if you're, that's kind of how I do things. If I'm having a one-on-one talk with somebody, I'm not gonna be a dick.
You're not going to play it up.
No, not really. There's no point.
Right. So we're all here to have a good time. And I don't know if you want to go over your video. We're not even, well, yeah, we are at more than half. But
well, here, I think we can start with the basics. So what you had a problem with what Jeremy was saying. Do you think that he is wrong after what you said about it being a typical SJW haircut? Do you think we're off base for thinking that that's kind of an SJW haircut colloquially now? Like it's popular with that kind of punkish community?
I mean, you could make the case, but Star Wars has always kind of had like these weird, like techno punk kind of like designs for characters, especially when it comes to their hair. I mean, like go into a cantina in the Star Wars universe, go into like Jabba's palace or something like that. Yeah. I mean, like I'm a fairly big Star Wars fan, and I think anyone who knows a bit about Star Wars knows that like crazy fucking haircuts are pretty common in that galaxy.
Do you think it's weird? Okay. You appreciate it. I appreciate that you said like you can make a case for it. So I agree with what you're saying. You make a perfectly cogent point. But I do think it's interesting that they chose to go with an undercut specifically when they haven't done that in Star Wars yet. That's new. I don't think you can name a character in any media necessarily, because you mentioned Ventress, and I thought that was perfectly reasonable too, like a bald haircut. But that's a little bit different.
But she wasn't bald. Later in the series, she had like basically like half Karen, half bald. Like she had like a swept over the side thing where half of her head was shaved.
Yeah,
like,
that's
that
true.
was some SJW haircut, and I don't think her character is SJW unless like, I mean, it depends. Like I've talked to people who think that just having a female character that isn't like just like a fuck symbol, I don't even know, is SJW. I mean, it kind of depends on where you would draw the line, but
that was after like 2015 though, right? That was kind of the later seasons. That was around the exact same time that the intersectionality and colored hair phenomenon was kind of going on when people were shaving off one side of their head, and there were some celebrities that were doing it. That was a popular hairstyle. So what I'm suggesting And what I think we're suggesting is that when Jeremy gets in there and he sees something that he notices is popular in this community, he assumes, because he said that he didn't watch it, that it's going to be very similar. That now here they go again. You recognize that knee-jerk reaction. And I think from what I'm perceiving is that you have your own reaction where it's like, oh, here's another reactionary reacting exactly how I supposed. So throughout this line, what I see is a lot of reactions that are they're not, where is the nuance here? We know that this is, like you said, it's kind of popular in that sect. And we know that there are people that are in Star Wars that want to have this kind of agenda, like a Kiri Hart who used to work for the story group. So do you see how our side of things could be concerned that there's this set of, and I'm not even going to use the word agenda, but these set of priorities versus a set of priorities that are classically known as a fandom, which is we want more of the same with a little bit of new stuff. Do you think that's unreasonable?
Okay, so you went through a lot of memes there. I gotta kind of mentally write that down. So
you can pick it apart and take it as you are.
Yeah, sure.
I go
I
on
guess
those tangents because I try and go around the whole argument,
Okay, yeah. So I guess we'll go through each argument one by one. So the argument, like the haircut that the lady has in Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 7 is like an SJW haircut. I mean, maybe. I mean, it looks really
sometimes,
similar to,
right? Forget like that you have to be right or wrong. You've seen that in culture. I just want to.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you're like really in touch with like anti-SJW videos on YouTube, you may interpret that as like being an SJW haircut. The first thing that I thought when I saw it was Bangalore from Apex Legends. I mean, if you listen to the quartering, then that's SJW propaganda. But I mean, I don't really think it is.
I don't agree either with that. I mean, the quartering. That's another thing is that we're not like a hive mind. So I take issue. Quartering is. You said the word grifter. I would say that he's a clickbait guy, right? I don't think that he's.
I think he's a full. I mean, it depends on if you think how much he agrees with what he's doing, if he like actually believes what he's saying, and if he's just doing it for money. Early on, when I first started streaming, when I was like I had like maybe 5,000 subs. I think I told this story in my video. Yeah, it was back in it was less than a year from now, or a year ago, but it was a while ago. I was streaming and I covered the quartering, and he ended up randomly coming into my chat, and I was doing like a random like viewer call-in stream, gaming stream. And I was like, oh shit, the quartering's in chat. So I invited him on. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's debate. And we started debating. It was we were having a good time. He'd made the case that like he like really hates Brie Larson, and so I was like, hey, it's kind of weird how often you talk about Brie Larson. Like you made like 100 videos on her. It's a little. Like that's a bit obsessive, right? And so
do you think because you brought up two good points, I think. Do you think that it's, and I think that these are a little bit different and dissonant. On one hand, grifting, right? So let's say that there's a group of people out there that dislike what Brie Larson is saying, and I think you would recognize that group would be what you consider the reactionaries, the fandom, the toxic, the people, you know what I mean? The people that don't want things to change from what they recognize. Isn't that the primary issue?
I mean, it depends on what their reasoning is. I mean, I've seen reactionaries that are just mad because I don't know if you would agree with this, but generally there's sort of a psychological thing where like when a dude acts in a certain way, it's seen as sort of like an admirable trait, like when Robert Downey Jr. or the characters he portrays, Tony Stark act in sort of a condescending manner. It's like, he's a lovable asshole. It's confidence, right? But if a woman were to act that way, it's seen as like, wow, she's kind of a fucking cold bitch, right? I don't think we would disagree. Well, okay,
I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that because I don't mean that it's like I'm putting your feet to the fire. But what I'm saying is that if you could be more detailed about that, I would understand more about what you're talking about, because I understand two parts of what you're saying. Again, it's this kind of scale thing that I do. On one hand, there's behavior that is inherently masculine, that's favored by other men for a man type situation. But then there's also universal behavior that's derided by everybody that could be more prevalent in men because it's that part of their cultural the way that the behavior and social combination that comes together when people are expected to act a certain way in roles, when they're expected or subconsciously acting a certain way in groups. Those things are all like part of dealing out hierarchical structure and that kind of thing. So what I want to know is that if you have Robert Downey Jr. and he's being a sarcastic asshole, there's also funny women that can be sarcastic assholes. So if there's a specific incidence that you can think of, like a woman that sleeps around more or something like that is seen as a whore, that if it's that argument, I just want you to clarify that.
It's somewhat similar to that. It just seems like in the experiences that I've seen, and I don't think this is really like a debated thing when it comes to sociology. Usually men are able to get away with behaving in certain ways that are seen as bitchy if a woman does it, right?
But do you think there are certain, what are those certain ways though? That's what I'm trying to, I just want to know what you mean by that.
Sort of acting bossy, taking the initiative in a situation, commanding people around or speaking authoritatively. When a guy does it, that's typically seen as dumb or typically seen as like being a leader, but when a woman does it, it's usually seen as being bitchy and bossy.
Do you recognize the difference in the men context? Let's just isolate men. Do you recognize the difference between the type of leader that dictates downward and the type that leads forward from the front? That kind of you've seen that meme? You know what I mean? Where it's like a real leader is leading from the, they're at the front of the thing and the troops are behind them versus somebody who's from the top down and telling everybody what to do. What I'm suggesting is that I think that regardless of someone's sex, if somebody is a good boss, they're a leader that represents somebody that's lifting everybody up as opposed to dictating downwards or being bossy. So like when you say like,
well, I'm not talking about like dictating downwards or leading forward. I mean, if you want to make the case like Robert Downey Jr.'s character or like yes. Iron Man specifically, like leads forward, not talk down. I mean, like, I think you're going to have a hard time with that. His character is literally that he's a condescending, narcissistic asshole. He works on that,
but do you think that's a male?
That, but people still love them even before.
But is that a positive male trait, or is that a character flaw that makes it so that he can sometimes say something that's funny in a situation that people find it funny? Because isn't his arc start from being that person to becoming a family man by the end of it, who's willing to sacrifice for everybody?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's not a negative thing that people were generally willing to look past for him and be like, oh yeah, I mean, he's just a, he's just sort of a lovable asshole.
But do you think that? Sorry, go on. Yeah, go on.
I had a question. So,
you're cutting out.
Sorry, you're cutting out a lot, Dunn.
So, within the movie of Captain Marvel, would you say that Captain Marvel's attitude is portrayed as that she needs, or do you think that it's filmmakers portraying how she behaves as a positive?
Well, you cut out a bit, but I think I got the gist of what you're saying. I don't know if comparing like Iron Man to Captain Marvel is a good idea because for like the first 2/3 of the movie, Captain Marvel's literally the bad guy.
Can I alter that then? What if it's Black Widow?
I haven't seen the Black Widow movie yet. If it's
not the movie, but her personality, that the way that she is a leader in S.H.I.E.L.D., the way that she does things is what I would say is she is a positive role model for anybody. This is what I'm trying to get at, is that I don't connect masculine or feminine role models with, and when it comes to leadership, with their sex. You would have to clarify with me what would be a good female leader versus a good male leader if you want to tell me how there's certain traits that men can exude that are positive in one sense, and then a woman did it, it's negative. Because what I'm suggesting is that it's immoral across the board. Somebody that's a bad tyrannical leader is a bad tyrannical leader. You would have to tell me what the gender difference was.
Okay, so sure. I'm playing Terraria as we speak, and I just fucking died. Yeah. So yeah, basically, what I'm talking about here isn't necessarily like a specific. I can think of an example right now. I mean, the one that I can think of right off the top of my head, if you want to compare sort of actions, there's a scene in Captain Marvel where this guy called the Dunn goes up to her and kind of acts kind of weird, and she like grabs his hand, like crushes it, and asks for his clothes, his boots, and his motorcycle, kind of like a Terminator situation.
Exactly, yeah.
And a lot of reactionaries made videos on that, like, oh, look what a piece of shit Captain Marvel is. This is like a feminist SJW moment, haha, men are bad. But at the same time, when Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, in the Terminator did it, everyone was like, what a fucking badass. Well, but that is the reaction you're supposed to have, right? But still. No, he's not. In Terminator 2, he's the good guy. He's protecting John Connor.
But his programming is programmed without societal norms.
Yeah, and in Captain Marvel, she's been like brainwashed and living on an alien planet for
Right.
God knows how long.
So would you say that regardless, she shouldn't have done that to the guy?
Probably not, but people
Okay.
let
I think
let our
that's the
boy
major
Arnold get
issue
away
is
with
that
it.
what I'm saying is that you had Legal Eagle and a whole bunch of people that were saying like, no, what she did was justified before the law, or it was justified morally. And really, when I think we can get down to the logic of it, just like Terminator, she's a fish out of water and doesn't know better, right?
Yeah, but they let Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in Terminator 2 kind of get away with it and say, oh, he's just a badass. But when Brie Larson's character does it, it's like 50,000 videos on YouTube of, hey,
Right.
SJWs hate men.
Well, between you and me, let's say, I'm not going to say that Terminator gets away with that stuff because I find that to be just as bad. And I think we established that that's the moral precedent there. So we can agree that people that are trying to create a moral equivalency between those two would be wrong. But which video are you referring to that has Terminator being okay and Brie Larson being not okay?
Well, I mean, there hasn't been any videos made on the Terminator scene because nobody cares. Like if Arnold Schwarzenegger does it because he's not like an SJW icon or something.
Well, I just find it interesting that you brought it up because you said that there's like a bunch of videos.
Well, it's a parallel that I was drawing because the scene with Brie Larson is very obviously meant to be a reference to the beginning of Terminator 2 when he goes into the biker bar and he like beats the shit out of all the biker guys and then like steals the motorcycle and the boot. Like it's literally the same line. It's like I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. So that's why I did the comparison.
Ooh. If I understand you correctly, you're mostly just going for the general consensus from the internet without like a specific video. Is that correct?
I mean, do you want me to name a video where people like some videos that were made about Brie Larson with that scene?
No. It was just about
I mean,
the Terminator equivalency because you're bringing that in. You're basically making the statement that we should also, not we, but if there was
I'm not making
royal we of reactionaries.
No, I'm making the case that you shouldn't really give a shit about either. It's just a fucking movie. Like, why do people care that much? But the argument that I'm making is there's sort of a double standard, a Squad W double standard, you might say.
But do you think that there's because what I'm saying is that I don't think that there's a double standard because I don't think that there's anybody, since you don't necessarily have the video of it, I don't think there's anybody claiming that there's a moral equivalency. I don't think that people are saying that Arnold gets away with it. What I think you're upset about is that Arnold, because of his physicality, because he's this robot dude with the huge muscles and he's walking around naked and stuff, men find that impressive. Whereas people don't find Brie doing it impressive because it takes a stretch of the imagination in reality to imagine a person of Brie's size doing that. Whereas I really don't think that is actually happening. What I think people have an issue with is that there are people trying to moralize bad actions.
No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. So the argument that I'm making right now is that when you see a male character, just a male person do something like that, I mean, it can be anything from like the scene we saw in Captain Marvel to just behaving in a certain way that's a bit domineering and authoritative, or like bossy, there's usually a different reaction when a woman does it than when a man does it. It's usually seen as like a strong trait when a guy does it, but as a negative trait when a woman does it. This is like a pretty recognized sort of psychological phenomenon that happens with people. We're just sort of socialized to think, oh, that lady's a fucking bitch whenever you see a lady behaving in that way, and when a guy does it, it's like,
but what
oh,
you have to be really
strong.
I don't want to agree or disagree with you because I don't understand exactly what you're saying. Like I can understand how the Karen meme, right?
Sure,
that's a specifically female meme. Is there a male version of a Karen?
I'm sorry, but I see dudes get called Karen all the time. I've been seeing the Karens try to claim it's like a misogynistic slur. I disagree with that. I call dudes Karens all the time.
And I think that applies to bitch too, right? But that's more of a gendered slur and colloquial term. That's in that could be considered as such in feminist ideology, right? Like
there are people on the left that aren't a big fan of how edgy I am that say that it's a slur bit or a gendered slur, but yeah, I can see where you're going from there.
So when you say this behavior that is inherently masculine or over feminine, is it bravado that you're talking about?
Bravado can definitely be an aspect to it. I'm talking more specifically about, or more broadly, I should say, about a set of actions that are typically seen as domineering.
Yes. So can I don't want to I don't mean to interrupt. Go on.
Sure. It's not, and that I don't see that as like a exclusively masculine trait. I think a lot of people are socialized to see it that way because we live in a pretty, I know it's sort of a meme, but a pretty patriarchal society. I think you would agree that usually we see like when you think of somebody being in a place of power, you think of like a guy.
Do you think that that's because of a social construct, or do you think that that's like a biological thing that we look towards the biggest dude that can provide, or whoever's, you know what I mean, in a survival situation?
I think it's mostly in survival. I think it's mostly socially constructed, but I do think the argument of whoever's bigger and provides more of a physical presence probably demonstrates more authority. That's why usually statistically people who are taller have a higher chance of getting like a promotion or being put in a higher place of power when it comes to choosing leaders. But I don't really think that's equivalent to this discussion.
Right. So I had a question because I know that I think you would see this as a meme when reactionaries to you bring up someone like not necessarily Linda Hamilton, but like Ripley. Why do you think that they like Ripley and why do you think that that's unique as opposed to other female characters that could exhibit the same traits?
There's a few things. So Ripley, from what I've heard, was written as a gender-neutral character pretty early on in the script. So there's not really anything there's really nothing about Ripley's character that necessitates her to be a woman. You could write her as a guy, and literally nothing would change about the story or about the experience of watching the movie. So I think that could be a part of it. Oh, sorry, what?
I'm very sorry that I ended up missing whatever was happening.
No, but this is Shiny. This is Xanderhal. Xanderhal, this is Shiny. Have you been following along?
I haven't been following. I'm sorry.
Okay, well then we're in the middle of it, so just catch up on the stream a little bit. Xander was saying something. He was talking about where we were at was Ripley, and I want to add something to that if I might, because after actually, you know what? I'll ask you afterwards because I really want to understand this. Because the gender neutrality thing to me is very interesting. So keep going on.
Yeah. So from what I've heard, the character of Ripley is written gender neutral. I think they wrote the character. I mean, even the name Ripley itself was a pretty ambiguous name. Yeah, I think the character was written gender neutral at first, and then they did casting, and they sort of changed a few things after they did the casting. So that can be a part of it. I also think a bit of it is just a lot of people.
Just reaction. Yeah, just tell me about the audience.
Yeah, just
like
with the
why
reaction.
Them? Yeah, why do they like Ripley so much as a female
probably nostalgia.
In that role?
Well, probably nostalgia because they watched it when they were younger.
Forget nostalgia. Forget nostalgia. Just the people that liked it when they saw it came out and they're 50 now and they're like, I like Ripley still.
Because there wasn't really this political, like Gamergate-esque sort of reactionary movement online when they watched it, and so they look back at it nostalgically, like, oh yeah, the SJW agenda wasn't happening back then. I mean, I would assume. I'm not. I can't know for sure, but that would be my guess.
Now, okay. So, in regards to that, so we have no agenda. We'll just say, okay, gender neutral character that it could be either way, and there's a nostalgia element of that. So, why do people you think hate Holdo?
Why do they hate Holdo? I don't know. She's like
as opposed to Ripley.
Yeah.
And then in addition, that the same question, but from a different angle is, if Holdo was a male, how different would the character be?
I think people would probably treat the character pretty different if she was a guy. I think having like a character with who's a female with pink hair is probably going to set off a lot of reactionaries.
Can I add another one? What if the character was just Leia?
It was just Leia?
Instead of Holdo, it was just Leia doing everything that Holdo did.
Oh, people would probably say, "Oh, they ruined Leia's character." I mean, they did that already by whenever she. No, they did that actively. When she put Holdo in power, they were like, "Oh, they're ruining Leia's character." She would never do that. Right. She would obviously put Poe Dameron in power because Poe Dameron's always obviously right. I mean, people did that. I feel like they would just blame her and say they ruined her writing.
Is there a medium that we could have both of these things in place? Could we have a character like Holdo who wears a dress, kind of like Mon Mothma, that has good decision-making processes that people that watched The Last Jedi that didn't like it? And I'm isolating this from other reasons. Let's say that they liked everything else about the movie.
The problem is these characters just aren't comparable, though. Mon Mothma has like 16 lines in the original trilogy, and she at no point ever has like a scene where she's like, where like the main character feels very strongly and knows that what they're doing is right, and then Mon Mothma is like, no, you're wrong. We're locking you in the brig, and you're not going to be able to do the thing that you're saying that needs to be done, right? Like they put Holdo.
It's contingent on Holdo. So in this scenario, we're saying that Holdo was right to do all the things that she did in the story.
Well, no, I'm not making that case at all. The argument is we're having sort of one of those situations where the protagonist, where you know something and that the protagonist knows, but the other characters don't. And you can't really portray that. So you have this really frustrating thing where the protagonist knows they're right, and what they need to do is right, but none of these supporting characters, or at least a supporting character, doesn't believe them, and sort of stops that character from doing the thing that they want to do. So it's sort of like a pretty stressful situation. I forget what it's called, but it's a pretty common writing thing. It's like when like a character that's the main character like experiences something and the other characters don't believe them and look down on them for it, or like condescend to them, right?
So hold on a second, because what I want to mention is, because you're saying like, okay, it's about the amount of it's the information that's being given from one character to another and the audience. It's not necessarily about the specificities of the character's identity. Because what I'm trying to say is that what if it was Admiral Akbar instead of Leia or Holdo that did it? A recognizable character that nostalgia fans would like. Same actions.
Yes, that's the thing though, because Leia kind of did that to a degree as well, and they said they ruined her character. I can't really know what would have happened if it was that. I don't know what would happen if it was Admiral Akbar. They might have said that, or they'd probably be making threads like, "Oh my God, Admiral Akbar," or well, there wouldn't be quite as many, but people would probably be like,
hold on a second. So it has nothing to do with the fact that Holdo was a woman or has pink hair, and has everything to do with the decision making based on the filmmaking. Well, so maybe all right. So with a limited amount, let's say that we have inherently, let's say that there's an unconscious bias. I'm going with what I think you would assume, that these masculine reactionary fans, let's say that we automatically assume negative 50 points or whatever to Holdo. We know because she's a woman, because she's got pink hair. I'm just going to give you that. But even then, you're saying that it would still ruin it if it was Leia, if it was Akbar. And now the reductio ad absurdum part of this argument is, then which character could do those actions that wouldn't piss off fans? Because the thing at that point, if it's a variable, if it's not a definite, then that means that the only thing that's left is the storytelling choices would piss people off. So if no matter who does the role and it pisses people off, then it can't be the character.
Sure. So the issue is that we're looking at it in a really black and white way. One way pisses off the fans, one way doesn't. If it's a could it have been done to that wouldn't have pissed off the fans? So let's say it's Admiral Akbar that does it. You wouldn't be seeing like videos being made and like just this constant push of like, wow, Holdo's a really fucking bad character. Fuck her. You wouldn't really be seeing that if we were to place Admiral Akbar. There wouldn't be these like threads because there isn't already a precedent of like, like fish guys or SJW icons, but ladies with purple hair that act in a authoritative way, like Holdo does, are sort of like an SJW stereotype that are good bait for making videos about. So it's not as black and white as one of them would piss off the fandom in one wall.
So do you think that there's like a like the SJW stereotype, the hair, the color, the ideas, the ideology, whatever it is that the reactionaries are putting into that box? Do you think that there's anything in that box that actually is legitimate, or do you think that those stereotypes are unfounded?
The stereotypes,
whether they're good or bad for society. What I'm saying is that are the people that are.
So we're talking about it descriptively, not like normatively.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the SJW stereotype is a bit overblown. I mean, I used to be like a pretty.
But this is what I'm saying.
Reactionary.
I don't want to know if it's overblown or not, because what I'm saying is that it's. What I want to know is if there's a Venn diagram here, or if there's if there can't be coexistence. Because if you have people that are trying to go one way with a visual aesthetic, with an idea set, and you have another people that are going another way, and there's no harmony, then what's the solution? How can you have a product that still exists? Which goes into what I was saying about the Last Jedi thing, where it's like, if there are decisions that are made on this agenda side that this other side is going to be upset about, how come both sides can still enjoy something like the original trilogy? Or is there that big of a dialectic at this point?
So the issue that I think is happening is that, like, post-Gamergate, there's sort of this new lens that a lot of people are viewing media through, where everything that they see that could possibly be interpreted as SJW propaganda or some, like, bullshit that they don't like because it's SJW, they're going to call it out and make a ton of videos on it. I mean, I don't think 10 years ago... somebody wanted to interject?
What does Gamergate have to do with any of this?
Gamergate was like the start of the sort of movement of like calling out SJWs in media and whatnot. It started with video games, but it kind of moves on to more media like video.
You're talking about like the Sargon rational skeptic community is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
That from the early 2010s.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of that. You're talking about the Anita Sarkeesian coming in and bringing in But so wait,
I think-
the SJW thing, because you say, hold on a second, because you always characterize it from the opposition side. So what is the actual proactive thing that we're talking about here? Forget what the other side is talking about as SJWs, just as you would characterize certain people as reactionaries. Who is this group that you're talking about? That's like the Anita. Who does Anita represent?
Who does Anita represent? I mean, progressives.
Okay, so it's progressives.
Or I should say like liberal progressivism, like not actual substantial progressivism, but sort of like I have sort of a saying that liberal progressivism is only for looks and for aesthetics, not so much material progression.
Right. So it's not okay. I get what you're saying. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to identify a group that, because I don't want to play a semantic game. I really want to know what is the thing that, and not based on a lens that is post something that happened like Gamergate. What is it that the people at Gamergate were reacting to? What is the actual? Because we can say, oh, they're reactionary, but they're reacting to something. And so far, you haven't totally told us what the actual agenda is.
I mean, it depends on who you ask. Like if you ask 2016 me, I would probably say, oh, we don't like progressive agendas being pushed in our video games.
No, that's the opposite. I'm trying to ask you what, not your opposition. Tell me what not their opposition. Tell me what the argument actually was. It's progressive ideas. It's progressivism.
What position are you asking me?
Well,
you're right now?
You are debating you're debating the reactionary position and bringing up their point about I hate SJWs. And what I'm asking you to do is I'm saying let's say they hate SJWs, and let's not use the word SJWs. Let's use the preferred term of the people they're talking about. Who are they talking about?
Who are you talking about? I mean, it's a pretty broad group. I get called an SJW all the time, and I'm a leftist. It doesn't really anyone ranging from liberal to leftist will be called an SJW. It's like way more broad than that. You can't really pigeonhole it into one ideology or one group of people.
So when you have Anita Sarkeesian and you have you, what's the delta between you and Anita Sarkeesian? What's the commonality?
What's the commonality? I mean, not hating brown people.
No, but see, that's not. It can't be a negative. It can't be a negative from your contract. It has to be that you support something.
Sure.
It can't be that you're not against something, because you can. That's presuming
favor of inclusivity in media.
And when you say inclusivity, you mean bringing in more sexes, race, or genders and races into media.
Yeah, if the creators want to do that.
Okay,
if the
slow down there. Yeah. Slow down. Okay, I'm going to bring in Jeremy to the chat. He thankfully came in. He only has about 10-15 minutes. If that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, so we'll go over the Jeremy stuff while he's here.
Great. Okay, let me just give me a moment, and I'll do that.
Coming through okay. Curiosity.
Yeah.
What's up, Jeremy?
Oh.
Is he here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good to talk to you, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm a complete moron when it comes to Discord, so I barely know how it works. So so I apologize if I sound weird.
You're a dang old Nintendo boomer.
You damn right. So I don't know who I'm here with. I know a little bit about what's going on. Basically, I clicked a stream with this guy, Xanderhal.
Xanderhal,
yeah, he doesn't like me apparently.
Well, we're about to find that out.
Yeah, so I know nothing about what I'm walking into, but I just was in the mood to argue, so I'm here.
So let me set the stage for this. Let me give you the medium. Xander, what is your primary problem with what Jeremy does or Jeremy's personality on YouTube?
I think he's a reactionary who makes anti-progressive content and sort of spams it out online. I think it has a demonstrable harm to the community in general.
And now, Jeremy, what do you think about that?
I mean, I don't really know what does that even mean? How is it? I mean, I heard you. I listened to about 10 minutes of your hour-long reaction about me, and you stated a lot of things about me, but you don't seem to know anything about me. And I'm just curious, how much research did you do on me before you decided to make an hour-long stream trashing me?
Let me ask that. Let me rephrase that, because I appreciate that. When you're making these points, Xander, what are you referencing?
Okay, so I should probably acknowledge a few things there. So I didn't do an hour-long stream trashing you. You were just a segment of the stream. I usually do 3 or 4 hour-long streams where I cover different topics. No, I've covered a couple of your videos on the stream before. I know you've made quite the catalog of videos on Brie Larson, which is kind of a mainstay of.
Let me stop you right there.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Brie Larson. Go.
Sure. Yeah,
so you said I've made the quite a catalog. You said I. you're not even acknowledging the fact that I have a team full of people, and some of those videos are from me, some of those are from my team. You specifically said
So
I have
there
made
are-
those.
So there are hundreds of videos on Brie Larson on your channel. Are you going to tell me that a significant amount of them aren't you on looking at the camera talking about Brie Larson?
Well,
No,
hold
what
on a second. Let's say it's Josiah. Let's say it's Odin. Let's say whoever's doing it. Why is that a problem?
I think it's pretty ridiculous. I think that people are obsessing over an actress because for a multitude of reasons, one of them being because they don't like women and another being because they don't like progressivism. And I think progressivism is good. So
All right, hold
That's a
on.
very
Now,
strong-
Jeremy,
that's-
what's your problem with Brie Larson specifically?
I don't like the fact that she gets away with saying things that anyone else in her position and gender and couldn't say. As a man in Hollywood would not be able to say the things that she has said about men. A man couldn't say that about women.
Now you're saying
What
stuff
do you mean-
like,
what do you mean by get away
hold on a
with?
second, hold on a second. You're saying stuff like it's not made for you, right? That comment that she was making,
Absolutely,
and all the stuff that she said about white men in Hollywood.
absolutely.
Now, when I'm asking Xander, what do you think it's appropriate for somebody to stand up there and say that stuff without somebody else being able to say the same equally?
what do you mean by get away with? That's what I'm curious about.
Without any kind of cancellation culture on Twitter or calls for
There
somebody
is.
to be with it. Okay.
There is.
Okay,
Jeremy here is part
hold
of
on a
it.
second. I understand that. Now, is she likely going to be losing any work because of something that Jeremy says?
I don't know. She might. She hasn't had like a video drop of her like calling her housekeeper the N-word. Like, I don't know. That was like, what did Mel Gibson do? There was like some fucking video.
Mel
leaked of him,
Gibson.
like,
Mel
screaming
Gibson had a spat
Like,
with his wife,
so-
and then
yeah,
his
yeah,
wife
yeah.
put all that stuff on the line, and he said
Mhm.
that he basically the whole argument really came down to the fact that he felt like he wasn't getting enough out of the relationship, and that his wife was taking advantage
Sure.
of him, and she
So there's
basically
nothing-
drained him on media. But hold on a
Sure,
second.
so there's
What-
something like that that's going to happen because
I-
it's not really that big a deal. But no, it just
Do you-
seems like people
okay.
are overreacting about it.
do you think that it's
if you do-
fair? Do you think that it's fair that Amber Heard would be fired from Aquaman for what she did to Johnny Depp?
Do you think it's for what she did to Johnny Depp? From what I've heard
Yeah.
that she did to Johnny Depp, it was fucking terrible. So yeah, probably I'd
Right.
like to see that happen.
So you believe that regardless of the gender, we should have fair treatment before the law, right? And in culture.
I mean, Rosario Dawson's going to play Ahsoka Tano, but she like allegedly assaulted one of like a housekeeper. I
Right,
mean,
no,
like,
and
people
do you-
get
I
away
don't-
with a lot of terrible shit, and you're like, wow, they probably shouldn't have that role. But sometimes
Yeah.
actors get away with shit. Depending on what you do, you're going to piss off certain groups of people. If, like, you know, obviously the really progressive people like me are pissed off that Rosario Dawson's going to play Ahsoka despite assaulting a trans man, and a lot of
Okay,
other
hold on a
people,
second,
including
hold on a
myself,
second.
are
I like
pissed
this,
off.
I like
that-
this.
Sure.
I want to add points something out. Do you think that anybody on this panel would discredit you or have a problem with you making 100 videos on Rosario Dawson?
Probably, yeah, maybe.
But why? Why would we have a problem with you pointing out an injustice?
I don't know. If you guys had like a bone to pick with me, you would probably be like, "Wow, you were just so obsessed over this accusation that hasn't been proven in court yet."
But do you see that? Do you see that? What we're trying to say is that if it's fair for one person to make this video, it's fair for Jeremy to make his videos. Besides the fact that you don't like them, you said that there was real effects. What effects are you talking about?
Yeah, I think a lot of people stumble across these videos. I can speak personally that when I was younger, I would stumble across these videos shitting on celebrities for being SJWs, and I found myself kind of going down a rabbit hole of pretty shitty content. You know, there's not too many lines of separation between watching videos about how Brie Larson is like an SJW, bad, blah blah blah, whatever the fuck, then stumbling across Sargon videos where he's talking about how immigration is bad and blah blah is pushing a progressive agenda so we can bring immigrants into the UK and they're bringing
So
crime and shit.
it's an
Like,
agenda
it's-
thing.
There's
But
a
do you-
pretty
so
there's
it's-
well no. I don't think the people that are making the videos are pushing the agenda. I think there's not very many lines of separation between making videos about Brie Larson being like a SJW and Star Wars pushing progressive nonsense, whatever the fuck. I don't know. I can't perfectly word it. And like stumbling across like actual white nationalist shit.
But do you think that Jeremy has anything to do with that? Or do you think that he's just trying to talk about things that he doesn't like in the media?
I can't see into his head. I can only sort of go off
Well,
of what he
Whoa,
does.
you
wanna-
just
Jeremy,
said,
Jeremy,
yeah,
Jeremy,
wait a minute,
go
you-
into it. Go into it. Tell him all about yourself.
made a comment that it was an anti-woman just a few minutes ago. There was a that my messaging was based on the fact that I don't like women, but now you're saying you can't go into my head. So how do you determine that my message? But how do you make that? How do you make a comment to someone might be sexist, but then when you're pressed to actually answer specific details of your accusations, you fall back to I can't see inside their head?
Okay, well, if you don't want to cut me off, I can answer you here. So you can't see inside somebody's head. I can't know exactly what you're thinking, but I can look at your actions and go off of what I think you might be thinking based on your actions. You
but
made
what actions?
A lot of videos.
Has Jeremy taken that has
made
been
a shit ton of videos on.
Can I just interject? You're making a very strong because. To say someone is either sexist or racist is a very strong accusation.
Is it?
Especially when, yes, it is.
A lot of people are
yes,
racist and sexist. It's not that big
no,
a deal.
I know, but it's very deep because let me just put it this way. If somebody said that I was racist, I would have to go through my entire life, the detailed aspects of my personality that would contest that because I'm trying to defend myself. Because the accusation of racism is not like, oh, you're a soldier. It's like you're a bad person. You're saying that somebody is immoral, and I think
I get called transphobic. I get called racist all the time by woke online. And I just tell them to fuck off, and nothing really ends up happening.
That's our side. But see, that's the thing. That's not the leftist personality. That's the personality that says I'm an independent person. I have a thought. I have rights and liberty and the ability to say what I feel. And then we all have the ability to consider it. Think about how many people in that camp that are like the Anita Sarkeesian camp, especially Anita, who wouldn't come onto this. And look at all the people that came onto this. It's because those people actually have an open mind to what's going on, as opposed to an agenda. So, like again, when you say something about
everybody has an agenda that they're pushing. If you don't have an agenda, what's even the point?
Right,
like, the argument we need to have
personal.
Is whether or not
it can
the
be personal.
Is good or not.
But okay, so what do you? So Jeremy, what's your agenda on YouTube?
To make money, to build my following, and to fund my company, which is everything that these weirdo leftists think is bad. Oh, he's in it for the money. Yes, I say that every day. Do you think that's going to hurt me when I say,
so
hey,
you're a grifter?
Admit that I'm a businessman.
So you admit you're a grifter.
Is that a problem?
Well, here's the thing. Something that's special. Sorry, I pointed this out last time. Something that's special about Geeks and Gamers is that it's not just one person. It's a group of people. So how are you going to support this idea? And by the way, Jeremy, I want to point out that I think it's a big risk that you are taking on all these people because you then have a bunch of people that you're beholden to and a bunch of people that have timelines and deadlines that they have to get to. So if Jeremy doesn't have a higher motive to have profitability on his channel, I don't know why that's a problem because he has more.
Well, I have a question really quick. How does the format of your channel work? Like, how many employees do you have going? Do you have like editors? Do you have like other people that talk on your things? I know you have like.
Again, for someone to make blanket claims about Geeks and Gamers, you don't seem to know a lot about it.
Well, just tell him, Jeremy.
Just a few headlines. It seems like you did a few headlines.
I'm not like I'm not your number one beta orbiter or anything. People recommended your videos on stream, and so I talked about them.
Yeah. So, Jeremy,
how do you talk about them if you don't know anything about them?
I watched the video and then I respond to the points that you make, and
that's why we're here, Jeremy. That's why we're here. So just explain to him Geeks and Gamers because it's cool.
So Geeks and Gamers is more than a YouTube channel. I think you probably know that if you paid any attention, but we're a website. We have a main YouTube channel, which is our biggest platform. We also have a gaming channel. We also have a theme park channel. We also have a sports channel. We have a Twitch channel that we stream video games on, and we don't talk about politics or anything like that. I have a full editorial staff on my website full of people with different opinions than me, political opinions, religious opinions, movie opinions, people that like The Last Jedi. My editor-in-chief runs the website. I have no say-so over what he does unless I need to step in. In terms of the channel itself, I bring good, different content creators on, different people, women, men, black people, whatever. It doesn't really matter.
You don't got to fight all. I get it. Okay.
No. I'm not virtue signaling. I'm using the logic of the leftists back at them because
it sounds like virtue signaling.
It's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is.
Guys, hold on.
What logic of
leftists?
Hold
on. Xander. It sounds like virtue signaling because what he's doing is actually virtuous. He's not signaling. He's not trying to overemphasize what he's doing. If you want actual numbers, I'm sure he could tell you exactly who's doing the editorial stuff. But when he says like black people, it could be one guy, but it's still true.
Wait, that doesn't matter. The reason why he's bringing it up is because he thinks that I have like an accusation that he's like racist or something.
You just said.
Yes, I said you probably don't like women very much.
But that's what I'm
You're
saying.
virtue-
That's an
Hang on,
accusation of
well, that's
sexism.
fine.
Yeah, and you're
I
virtue
think
signaling.
Fair point. Because I only have about 10 minutes left because I'm going to go have dinner with my wife and daughter because I'm an incel who hates women. Good logic there.
How can
Now,
I be
also-
sexist? I have a
Jerry,
wife and
no,
daughter.
please,
Hey, Xander,
These
Xander,
guys,
Xander.
please. Please.
We're not doing that.
Do you have a now,
Smudcast is better than
I'm
that.
sorry, I'm having fun. It's okay. I'm
Do
sorry.
you
No,
have a
but no.
problem? Do you have a
Yeah.
problem with the campaign that we actively ran on the main Geeks and Gamers channel where we raised $10,000 for children over in foreign countries? Do you have a problem with that? Was that racist and sexist?
No, Jeremy. What it
comment
is
on
is
that?
it's
No.
virtue signaling to do anything good. But here's the problem. That's a
Right.
bad.
Wait, no,
faith
it's not
argument.
virtue signaling to do anything good. It's whenever you bring up like, oh yeah, by the way, I have black people that work.
Exactly.
But you asked him about it. But you
I can't
asked
be
him
sexist
about
with
it.
my wife and daughter. No, I didn't. I asked him, how does your company work? I want to know how
But
many
you
employees
said
you had.
it.
How did it work?
But I asked
I wasn't
him
curious
all
about the
about.
race, sex of people that were working for him.
Xander.
He wanted to bring it up to virtue signal.
Yes. But here's the thing. I asked him what his channel was all about, and he said what it's about. Maybe it. What
yeah,
if it is about?
he
What if
seems
it
to
is
do
about
like a
virtue
media
signaling?
type thing where he has
What
like
if, what if
different.
that's his channel? What if, and I'm not saying it is, but what if he did just wanted people of a different race to be on the channel, and it was a virtue signal? Isn't that exactly what inclusion is? I'm sorry, I
No.
don't understand why it has to
So-
always be a
so
bad
when
faith argument. Why can't you
progressives-
take
so
him
here's
at
the
face
thing.
value?
Wait,
Why can't you accept that he's trying to do something good?
Everyone.
So when progressives advocate for like having progressivism in content, like inclusion and whatnot, they're doing it because they want to see positive changes in society. When a reactionary virtue signals and says, "Ha! Even though I make like 1,000 videos with reactionary content, you know, shitting on Brie Larson and talking about how progressivism is bad and how there's a forced SJW diversity agenda, I've got a black guy that works on my team. So checkmate,
Look,
liberals. I
look,
can't be
we're not-
racist."
We're not
We've
here.
heard that, but
Look,
I feel like
we're
I've heard
here-
that argument a million
Look,
times, though,
Glib,
and it
Glib,
doesn't
please.
hold up. It's because it's not personal.
Another
We're
question.
here-
Since
general.
I'm sexist for
Can
making
I-
a lot
can I
of Brie
please
Larson
interject,
videos,
Jeremy?
do I hate men because I've made a lot of anti-Ryan Johnson videos?
Jeremy, can I?
Maybe.
Well, look, we're not. Look, this is getting very heated, and we're not here.
This is
to
nowhere
attack
near
each-
heated
no,
for me.
look,
I'm being very
Jeremy,
nice because I'm here
please.
with you guys.
I'm having a good time. I'm
Yeah.
chill. I'm nice and cool.
No.
I got my AC running.
Look,
I'm
no,
nice and chill.
And we're just here to have a discussion, and we're here to have a talk. We're not here to create any drama, because we certainly don't want that, and we don't need that right now. So maybe if we could approach this with a little bit more tact, and I believe we
I
can.
know it's
Oh.
again. I'd say I don't know, and out of respect, I don't mean it in disrespect. I'm not familiar with you guys, so I don't know who I'm talking to right now. So I mean no disrespect, and I'm not trying to come in here. I'm dialing myself back a lot. So if I'm too hot, let me know, and I will dial that back even more.
I mean, if you want to know a little bit about me, just like imagine the biggest SJW you can imagine, like triple it by 3. I'm very, very progressive.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that like I'm not of like a party. I don't look at things that way. I try to achieve some sort of spiritual distance from worldly things like that and approach them from a holistic perspective. And I think that it's very sad because it's like I'm a Geeks and Gamers subscriber. I'm biased. That doesn't mean that I like all of Jeremy's content or any of that content, but I think it's really messed up because I know how he slots some of it. He has an entire channel that he covers political stuff on D-Day Cobra. Is that right? Correct. So there's and I think it's funny that he has a gaming channel that doesn't have any political content, which is just like you, Xander. That's exactly what you said earlier. So when you say all this reactionary stuff, the thing that gets me about it is I feel like you're saying that as some sort of defense mechanism that's distant from actually what's happening. You say stuff like that. That sounds like contrarianism to me. It sounds like you're trying to incite something. It doesn't really seem like a real personal thing. So if you want to try again with what you're saying, because it's like the racial stuff that has to do with virtual signaling, whatever. The point is that the only reason why Jeremy would ever think to bring that up is because somebody else made it worthwhile to bring it up. The only reason why somebody would think to make content on an SJW culture or on anything like this is because something is there. You're not denying it's there, but what you're doing is you're making it difficult to identify it so that we could appropriately address it. Because what happens if that subsect of culture isn't totally right? Do you have to double down or do you change your mind? Because I don't think you're 100% right. Do you think you're 100% right?
Change your mind. Yeah, usually. Well, I'm always open to changing my ideas if I ever hear like a good argument for it. But I mean, I obviously wouldn't believe what I currently believe if I don't think it's right.
Right. Okay. So do you think in a good faith argument that somebody like Geeks and Gamers, somebody that works for them, somebody that's trying to be a part of that channel is out there to grift people? Do you still think that?
I mean, It's pretty hard to say it's not when he's made how many videos that are on his channel about.
So
Brie
How many
Larson.
videos is appropriate? Can I ask you how many how many Brie Larson videos would be the appropriate number, since you're determining what's appropriate, what's not?
I mean, it depends.
5?
If like Brie Larson like murdered
it's a
somebody
yes-
or
wait,
something,
you've made
maybe
the
that would be
defi-
appropriate.
Again,
But if I'd
you've
say
made the definition of it too many. So tell me the
so
specific
I don't,
number.
Can
so
we
I
please
don't know
let each
the
other
exact.
talk? So-
Wait, really quick. I want to answer. I'm having fun. I don't know exactly what number of Brie Larson videos would be appropriate. I don't really give a shit about Brie Larson, besides how funny it is that people are constantly obsessing over her. But I
So
will
what is
say
it?
that like 300 is too many.
Okay, so
Um,
wait, hold on a second.
If I want to make a video on Brie Larson, I would
You-
find
you
something I
don't-
disagree with her on and maybe make a video about it. Actually, no, I'll give you an example. I've made quite a few videos on Blair White. You could make the case that, oh, wow, Xanderhal's made a shit ton of videos on Blair White. That really sucks. Except every time I
Right.
make a video on Blair White, I'm able to show examples of where she's done things that are objectively scummy that have actually hurt people objectively. Like recently, she did a video where she was like responding to people who've criticized her, and she purposely showed a video of a picture of a trans lady that was like really early on transition to shame her into being silent, and then ended up sending her audience to that person's channel to get her banned off of YouTube.
Has
So when I make a
Jeremy ever
video
done
about
anything
somebody,
like that?
I do. No,
Has
I'm
Jeremy
not making
ever
the
done-
case that he's doing something.
I know,
like
but I want to
comparison
just
to
stick on Jeremy.
when's
I don't want you to go
well,
off and talk
no,
about
he
somebody
asked me.
else.
Wait. He asked me when is it how many videos would be appropriate to make, and I said I've made a lot
Right.
of videos on Blair White.
You didn't
So
answer
I'll
the
give you
question.
a-
But you,
I'm
I just
answering
want
it
to
right
answer
now.
the question.
I'm
So how many
answering it right now.
how many Blair White videos then would it be appropriate for you to make? And then answer Jeremy's question just with a number, because it's a number. It's not a diatribe.
Well,
I
that's the
think we
thing,
all
though. You're
we all
trying to
know that there's
pigeonhole
no
me-
answer.
No, you're trying to
there's no
pigeonhole
answer.
me into one answer when there's really not one.
I know there's no answer because it's a rhetorical question. Because
I
it's not a
even
good
think
point.
that 300 videos on Blair would be too many. You've made,
But it's not.
Hold on.
But it's not 300. It's like it's a couple dozen, and it's done.
No.
amount of time.
You're lying
What-
right now.
When was the last time that you made a Brie Larson
Look,
video?
A couple weeks ago, last I checked. Hold on.
Yeah,
Do-
probably
can we-
the-
Can we look up
Nintendo
Geeks?
one?
Can we look up Geeks and Gamers Brie Larson and count how many videos there are?
Yes,
We're gonna be
go
counting
ahead,
for a
go ahead.
while. We're
Go
gonna be
ahead.
counting for a while. All right.
again,
But
I-
the thing is that
Hold on.
you keep harping
No,
on.
I'm about to do it. Are you guys ready?
Everyone,
Hold on.
Go.
everyone.
Hold on. Well,
Okay.
I can count it. Here we go. One,
Guys, this is
two,
not
Nobody's
necessary.
disputing this.
4, 5,
Yes.
6,
Nobody's
7,
disputing
8,
this.
9,
Look,
10,
Xander,
11.
you stop now.
I mean,
Xander, can I just ask what is the point of this right here?
well, he came. I brought up that he made a ton of videos on Brie
Look,
Larson. He asked me.
I
what
just
videos
asked what was the appropriate number.
No, we're here to have a discussion, and we're here to talk, and you don't seem to. Well, in defense,
I'm
Jeremy,
sorry. I'm having.
you don't
I'm
seem to
going
have
a little
faith either.
overboard. I'm
No,
going a bit overboard. I'm having a good
you
time.
don't
I'm sorry.
Seem to have faith, like you don't. You seem to not trust us. Like trust as in we say something and you just straight out throw. At least Jeremy would say something. I haven't had this much of a discussion, but Jeremy would say something and you've just completely disregarded what he said. What's the point in being in this discussion if you're not willing to listen to what Jeremy is saying?
I'm listening to what he's saying.
Well, here's the thing. You're saying you're being pigeonholed, but the problem is that it's not that you're being pigeonholed. You're being held to this thing
So
that you've
when I
created.
say
You
when I say
created-
300
hold on a second.
videos is too many, and you say how many should I make?
Yes.
That's like you're leading the question there. That's not really an honest.
But
you're not
the
asking that
number-
question in good faith.
Yeah, but hold on a second,
number
Shiny.
of videos-
I'm calm. I just want to finish this point because you have to understand my argumentation thing. What I've done is I've demonstrated that we boiled down to this one point, right? And I'm sure you have a couple other points, but you're hinging a lot of claims that you made on how many Brie Larson videos he's made. Do you find that to be a legitimate problem with someone's channel, or do you just think that that's goofy? How many issues of People magazine have been about Brie Larson?
Okay, so if you think making a few hundred videos hating on Brie Larson for very, very non-existent reasons, I would say, being equivalent to People magazine making editorials about
non-existent is your opinion. We're saying that somebody has
Sure.
a passionate issue about somebody saying you can't do this. Let me just give you a quick anecdote
Okay,
about a story
sure.
I had. Okay, I was on a Marvel set because I work in the business, and I was shadowing a director of photography. We were working on the project. I was having a pleasant conversation with a couple producers, and I was just asking about how they got there. One guy was there for the Donner Company. He was there because he was a huge nerd. He loved comic books. He loved all this stuff. He was involved in all sorts of stuff, whatever. The director of the thing was a showrunner, and he saw that Marvel was a good pool for him to make a project in, and he made a character-based story based on that. And then you had the Marvel reps who I asked, and I said, do you care about the comic books? Do you care about this? And she said, no, I'm in it for the money. And I said, well, that's kind of messed up. Don't you like, you know, what about people that want to care about this or that? And she said, oh, you would think that. You're a privileged white male. And I thought that was fascinating because she was also white. So I'm sitting there and I'm not in power. I'm just asking questions about the production. She has full authority over the operation that's going on there. She's the liaison to Marvel. And she's telling me that I'm privileged and that I have all these things when I'm just there to inquire a question. And my thing is that a good faith or a bad faith thing?
What faith or a bad faith thing?
Is that a good? Yeah, because it's like you have somebody that's there.
I mean, like that's just like a perfect example of liberal capitalism doing its job. Art isn't made for the sake of making art anymore if it's just for capital. And so
then what part of an actor getting on stage and saying that a part of the audience that's there for a capitalist project shouldn't show up or it's not for them?
It's not for them. Are we talking about the? Are we talking about the? Oh yeah, this is what I talked to the quartering about the A Wish, or what is it called? In that one movie with the
Unicorn Store.
No. She was talking about a specific movie where she was talking about it getting like bad reviews or people saying they don't get it.
I know what you're talking about. I know A Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time. Yeah, A Wrinkle in Time. You know, a bunch of people were saying they didn't like the movie, and she was like, "Yeah, of course you don't like the movie because it's not targeted at you. Like that, you're not the target demographic."
Right, but hold on a second.
Wait. When she said it wasn't made for you, she wasn't saying you're not allowed to watch it. She was saying you're not the target demographic.
I understand that, but let me bring that back to my anecdote. I am a comic book nerd, and she's not. So who is the target demographic? And I had this conversation with them. The target demographic is what for that show was the television audience. Who's the target demographic for a book that we all were forced to read in school?
I mean,
so
it depends on it depends on the creators of the movie and what they were going for. I mean, the book adaptations aren't always the same. When you turn a book into a movie, it's not the same thing.
Now let me. So artistic integrity and what the artist wants matters, right? Now, how does that?
I mean, not in a capitalist system. If you're, I'm sorry, but capital ruins art.
I'm going with what you said. I'm not going with the sarcasm.
Sure.
I'm going honestly in good faith with what you're saying, because what you're saying is basically, how do you jive auteur theory and artistic, like, creative license with an inclusivity agenda?
Sorry, what?
How do you have these two things, an inclusivity agenda and personal creative authority over a project?
So it's a complicated question. So the issue is what a lot of corporations will do is they will include they'll pretend to act like they care about inclusion and like diversity and whatnot. I mean, you see McDonald's change their logo to.
What's the solution? Because you always go to the bad faith argument.
Yes or no question. So it's a much more complicated than a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question. It's for you to solve. It's for you to solve because you're the one that has a problem.
Okay. So you have to parse it out. Whether or not it's a good or bad thing, I like to go off of consequentialism. So if corporations and movies and whatnot are sacrificing some amount of artistic integrity, you could say, in order to have an inclusive agenda, and that has a positive outcome because more people of certain races or minorities, whatever, feel like they're represented more, then I think it's a good thing.
Okay. So do you think that Black Panther needed more representation, or do you think that it hit its target market and benefited from it?
I think it probably hit its target market. I think it did pretty well.
So do you think that optimally in a capitalist situation, you would want an open market with all audiences able to get something?
In a capitalist market? I mean, I'd rather not. I'd rather we're not in a capitalist market. But
that's what I'm saying.
Can I ask a question?
Because you brought it up.
Ideally, so here's the thing: capitalism is generally pretty bad. But if there's some positive outcomes, then
Jeremy's got to go because you stopped from me.
All right, it's been fun, my dude. We can talk some time on stream if you'd like to.
I wanted to spend like the last couple minutes if there was anything that we could talk about. I mean, I don't think anything's been accomplished in terms of me and the guy who doesn't. And again, I apologize. I don't know everyone here, and I mean no disrespect by that. I appreciate you guys. But
no, it's all good, man.
We
know you.
I don't think anything has been accomplished. At the end of the day, the guy that made the video on me that's talking. What is your name?
Xander.
Okay. Again, man, don't know what your overarching issue is with me still, other than you feel that politically I disagree with you, therefore everything I say is wrong, is kind of what I'm basically getting out of this. Which
Wait,
is
do you think if you said the sky is blue, I would disagree with you because we disagree politically?
Well, I mean, yes, that's essentially what I've gotten to, because I've asked you to give me. I've taken
very specific issues with your content. I think that you push a
but you
reactionary
don't seem
agenda.
to know my content. That's my problem. You've taken specific issues.
Sure.
Look,
you may make a bit. Listen, I know you make a lot of content. Maybe the majority of your content is completely apolitical, and I would take no issue with it. But you've made a shit ton of content that pushes a reactionary rhetoric, and I take
you
issue with that.
reacted to my content, but didn't you react to my content?
Do you know what reactionary means?
No, he doesn't know what reactionary means.
Oh,
because
but
that's an inside. Xander, that's an inside term.
Jeremy doesn't have long. Look,
I get it.
Jeremy doesn't have long.
Is this whole like this is the anti thing where like if an anti SJW YouTube channel has reactionary to this stuff that gets views? Is that what it is?
No.
Reactionary means opposing of progressivism and enlightenment.
Okay, yeah, I have no idea about that. So
Jeremy, it's SJW is equivalent to reactionary in their camp. That's what you need to take away.
Wow. Jeez.
Well, no, reactionary is like a long-standing political phrase that has been around way before Gamergate. With the
I understand.
shit.
I understand that.
This is this has been around for literally centuries.
Can you break down what I do as reactionary, just so I understand from your perspective?
Yes.
Sure. Do you want me to give examples?
I would love it.
Sure. So an example of something you do that is reactionary would be, I don't know, saying that Star Wars is pushing a progressive agenda, and that's a bad thing.
Okay. So
that would be an example of a reactionary behavior.
So it's a political disagreement.
Well, I mean, I can give you the exact definition of reactionary here.
No, I get that, but what you're saying is that that's entirely political. There's nothing moral, ethical, or civically related to that.
Reactionary is a label that you can proudly carry if you want to. It's just a lot of people don't seem to be willing to go with it.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it. But you're saying it's political, right?
It is by definition political. Yes.
Okay. What is your response to when people initially had something to say about Jedi Fallen Order being a SJW, and I battled against those narratives? How do you link that to me being a reactionary?
I don't know if you saying it's not SJW. That probably doesn't sound like a reactionary thing you did, but you've done reactionary things. I take issue with it. That's why I covered.
Basically, I feel like what it is when I have opinions you disagree with, you label that as reactionary. Is that essentially what we're getting to?
No, when you have an opinion that coincides with reactionary thought process. Wait, do you want me to define reactionary?
No. I get it. When Jeremy's being a reactionary, hold on. I get it. When Jeremy's being a reactionary or has reactionary opinions, you take issue with it, right?
Yeah, because I see reactionaries as
but you're not going to say you're going to agree. You're not going to state. And I want to hear this if this is true or not. You don't have any evidence that he's a racist or a sexist, right?
You
don't have the evidence. You don't have any material or references.
It depends on how strong the evidence is. I mean,
but you don't have it right now. Right now,
covering Brie Larson quite a bit is kind of
okay.
Kind of a good bit of it, I would say. I mean, it's a little weird.
Fine. So that's your evidence. Your evidence that he is sexist but racist? No, right? There's no evidence from off the top of your head that he has any racist.
Off the top of my head, I don't think so. I think I saw some effy shit back in the day from Twitter.
Okay, fine. So fine. So then the way that he treats Brie Larson makes you think that he could be sexist.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, Jeremy, is there anything else you want to know?
I mean, you brought up at one point in a little clip that I saw in the video you made about me, and you brought up a point about why I used to have Ahsoka on my microphone. Where were you going with that? Because I never heard you follow through about what.
Yeah. This is actually pretty good. It's not like an accusation towards you or anything. I just think it's pretty funny. So you know how you agree with this, right? Like Ahsoka is one of your favorite Star Wars characters, yes? Right? Okay, good. Yeah, I actually saw this pretty interesting video that went over a bunch of posts about Ahsoka from back when the original Star Wars. Oh yeah, Hello Greedo did it. Yeah,
I've covered all this on my channel.
Can I just say now, Hello Greedo was using a hell of a lot of very nitpick comments, and it really didn't represent the general opinion of people back in the time. And people did think Ahsoka was annoying at the beginning, yes. However, Mary Sue is not a common term.
No, I saw a lot of people.
Look, Jeremy, I will support that. I will die on the hill that when I saw the 2008 thing, I thought she was a Mary Sue. That doesn't mean that she didn't improve as a character. I think we can move past that. I don't think that matters.
I was only pointing out because I thought it was pretty funny that like
Look, I don't want to keep Jeremy too long
accusations
because
towards Rey as they did against Ahsoka back in the day. I thought it was funny. I wasn't saying it as a point. I was just saying it was funny.
Go on, Jeremy.
I have made that point several times on my channel that Ahsoka was really disliked in the beginning of the Clone Wars, but how you actually get a character to win the audience over is to give them proper story and character development, which she went through, and she ultimately earned the audience's, the fandom over, and the audience loved her. No one was accused of being a racist and a sexist for criticizing Ahsoka back then, but now everybody is accused of being a racist and a sexist because they say literally the same things about Rey that they said about Ahsoka in the beginning. I've said that. If you watched my channel, you would know.
That's the problem, though, because things back in 2009 were very different. We had a very different political landscape back then. Nowadays, we're post-Gamergate. We've got, like, people look through media with a very different lens. It seems like everybody is looking out for excuses to call something SJW.
Jeremy, you have to go soon, don't you?
Yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah, I gotta go too as well. I gotta wrap up my stream.
And by the way, before you get into the Gamergate thing, I think it's funny because I was actually on the pro Gamergate side, so it's been very funny to listen to. I didn't attack anybody or whatever, but I was very much invested in that from the.
I was pro Gamergate at the time too. I thought it was based, but yeah.
Well, if you want to continue this conversation some other time, Xander, on your channel, I found this to be very interesting. And it was nice of you to come on, Jeremy. I know you got to go. Is there anything I'm going to let Jeremy go first that you want to end on, and then Xander?
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, Jeremy, you probably don't remember me. However, do you remember someone who was you approached by a while ago? It's probably 2-3 years now. I was I think about 17, and I made 3D graphics for you. If you remember,
absolutely, Shiny Trooper, right?
Yes. Oh, I go by Shiny.
Of course, I remember you. I remember everybody. Me and my evil, sexist, racist tower. I remember everybody that has helped me through the way. No, in all seriousness, I do remember you. You didn't you message me recently?
I didn't message you recently. However, oh yes, I did. Email. I contacted you about the Smudcast here.
Yeah. So, is that what this is about? Okay, because I did see a message from you. Obviously, I get a lot of messages, but no, I 100% remember you. I appreciate all of the graphics that you did. Going back to the old school Geeks and Gamers, the Star Wars with the blasters, which people still ask me about to this day. So yeah, no, I totally remember you. So small world, huh? But yeah, I came on because Siobhan, who's she was in the comments too. I guess I can repeat what she said. I won't be virtue signaling if I said it with her, but she is a very progressive lesbian, proud lesbian, hates Trump, and is my right-hand person at Geeks and Gamers. And she's the one that told me about this stream. So that's the reason I'm here. I saw the link. I popped in. I went and looked at Xander's reaction video about my stuff, and I was like, let me jump in here and argue a little bit. So I appreciate you guys having me on. If I don't know the temperature of your channel, so if I came in a little too hot or if I was a little too aggressive, I apologize. I kept myself at a 2 as I normally am. So if it was too much, so I apologize. No disrespect. Anytime I'm in somebody else's house, I try to respect the rules. So, but thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. And Xander, good talking to you. Good talking to everyone on the panel. I hope you all have a great day, okay?
Yeah, man. Jeremy, you're a good dude. I hope to see more of you, and thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys. Bye.
I had a fun time. Have a good one, dude.
All right.
See you, Jeremy.
And Xander, anything that you'd like to round out before? I appreciate you coming on, and I think that even though there was some bad faith stuff there, you still you were a good sport. So anything you want to round out?
No, I think I'm pretty happy with most of what I said. I don't think I got to finish a lot of sentences, but it's all good.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, if you want to actually flesh anything out.
Yeah. I mean,
I know I talk over you. I'm sorry about that, but if you really want to do it, I'll listen to you. It's Smudcast the way that it's operated. It's a tighter schedule. I'm sure we could go off for hours if you wanted to. That's why I extend that.
Yeah, no, I just, when I started my stream today, I was just planning on doing sort of a chill stream, just playing some Terraria, and somebody told me that I was being talked about on YouTube, so I was like, all right, I'll go join. I wasn't really prepared for this or anything, and I only plan on going for 3 hours, and I am 8 minutes over my 3 hours because I actually have things I got to do. But it was definitely a fun time, and I had a lot of fun.
For sure. Thank you for coming on. Enjoy your Terraria.
Hey, no problem, dude. Have a good one. Enjoy your stream.
Thanks, Xander.
See ya.
That was
Sorry, I didn't have
interesting,
much.
wasn't it?
I didn't have much. I apologize.
There were Well, I think it is very difficult for anyone to try and get anything other than Xander and Jeremy, obviously, because the main thing was on them. But I wasn't expecting this by any means.
That was good. I think to flesh out a lot of the details about what people actually think underneath their videos. So that was very interesting.
Hello, Southpaw. It's good to meet you. How are you doing?
Hello there. It looks like I missed out.
Return of the Southpaw.
Oh, no.
This shit makes me want to cry, man.
We haven't done any
Oh,
sound
shit.
checks, so Southpaw, you're very, very loud.
Anyway, I just want to, while Southpaw gets that fixed and all that, I just want to give a shout out to chat. I was watching what you were saying. I was paying attention. I hope you appreciate what I was trying to do there. There was more of a fact-finding mission than it was a debate. I know that's more interesting to someone like Smud, and I think Shiny really wanted a good discussion, and I appreciate him smoothing that over.
Yeah, I suppose what I kind of wish a bit more that people, because ultimately I don't think that either Jeremy or Xander are bad people, but I think maybe sometimes people do forget that, you know, you're talking to someone else who just has their own perspective and their own beliefs, and to try and come to terms. You know?
Well, it's the same with us, right? Like we were just looking at what Xander was saying from the beginning, and all we could come to the conclusion was he was jealous. Like that was the most basic generalization we can come to. Were we wrong? I don't know. He seems to have a lot of opinions regardless of his liking of the same things as Jeremy. So I thought they would have communicated a bit more on that topic, but
Should we move this back to the Smudcast DM?
I think we can round it out here.
Okay.
Hopefully my mic sounds better than this than before.
We got you.
Yeah, yeah. Go on with what you're saying, South. Try again.
Oh no! It seems like I missed out on some fun right before I got in.
Yeah, no, I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep it a certain level, and there were a couple moments of frustration. You know, obviously that happens.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
The thing that was frustrating was that the mindset that was leaving this podcast or Smudcast was the same that we were watching in the video, and that's the disappointing thing. But I am glad that Jeremy made his case, and everything that I got to say in the previous stream, Jeremy got to come out here and confirm. And I'm glad that he didn't pop off, because that would have been really annoying on this channel. It's not what we're about.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a few personal messages with him just to say hello. Thank you for coming on. I was not expecting them both to come on, guys. This was completely unprecedented.
No, it's perfect.
No, it's great. I'm glad it happened. It's just I wish we could have controlled that a bit more and gotten to know Xander a bit more, because it sounds as if, you know, his biases were just clearly stopping him from just listening to Jeremy. And
I know some people will say, "Oh, look, Shiny had a senpai notice me." Look, I haven't really been a fan of Geeks and Gamers for a long time, but it's just that I had some kind of a past with Jeremy, because we had discussions before on Geeks Gamers, and I didn't know if he still would recognize me, or because it was a long time ago.
Yeah, man.
I guess may I talk a little bit about my little history with Jeremy? I guess.
Oh no, we know. Yeah. Well aware.
Yeah. Well, so it's like I have my own podcast that's currently on hiatus because I have a laptop and an internet connection that's not very good at handling or recording anything. So I'm getting the parts for a gaming PC that can handle that kind of thing better, or picked out rather by E-Man Gameplay currently. But anyway, so the most popular episode of my podcast, I was covering a Geeks and Gamers video with Jay, Xe, and Wolf, and Mahler joined in eventually as well. And there's a little Inception stream that, and then at the end of the stream, I actually had a discussion with Jeremy, and it was about a video that he did regarding Cyberpunk 2077, and a bad video, as was the one that was done on some joke that Robert Pattinson had made about Jennifer Lopez being like, oh, she thing. I think there's times where Geeks and Gamers, they do kind of like overreact to very menial shit that like, yeah, this is clearly a joke. This doesn't matter much. But there's also times where I think, you know, Jeremy is he can be a reasonable and level-headed person. It's just kind of like a case-by-case basis. I don't think that there's a rule with him as to like, oh, he's so reactionary or he's you know, SJW, whatever. It's like I go in there and talk to Xander as soon as he started like calling Jeremy reactionary. Like, it's kind of weird because there's you know, everyone will be quote unquote reactionary at times, and everyone will be quote unquote times depending on who you ask. You know,
his
no
definition of
bullshit.
reactionary was a little different than the rest of ours.
Yeah, well, like no bullshit would call an SJW. You know, it's like what people call SJW, what people call reactionary. It's like it's I hate to say it, it's kind of a subject.
Well, I think it's more just people have their own definitions for certain words. And these are words which are often used in different ways as well.
I have to read out some super chats. You guys want to hang around for that? Do you have to go?
Yeah, I have to go, so I'm fine here.
Okay, well, thanks guys for joining. I'm going to go through the list, and thanks for everyone for being patient. I didn't want to start interrupting people just to read super chats, and I think the chat was having a good enough time with their own comments. I didn't want to bring those up either. And please, we want people to come in and feel welcome, so I don't want to read anything derogatory. So
yes.
And yeah, that would be singularly distasteful to the person coming on.
I just want to say about the reactionary thing where, like, the thing I tried to explain to Jeremy is that reactionary has a meaning in that camp, in the big tent. And I think it was telling that he couldn't explain exactly what connected all these things together, but he's so against people calling him an SJW. If somebody wanted to call me a reactionary, I think, like he was saying, I just accept it because that's what they're going to call me. You know what I mean? So if somebody called me an SJW, I'd be like, no, because there's no trait that applies to me. But if somebody called me a reactionary, I'd be like, yes, according to your ideology, that's what I fit. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm also an, what is it? Unwanted person or whatever for Scientologists, whatever the word is, or for cultists, you know?
Oh, suppressive person. I'm a suppressive person for Scientology. So I will accept that because that's their definition. For everybody else, we're just rational people.
Anyway, thanks guys for joining. I'm going to go through that on the list, and hopefully we'll get some of the context of these comments and super chats. Probably not, if I can remember them, but let's see if we can do it. Okay, Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. The Dunn did nothing wrong. That was his guitar hand he used to play for the orphans. And this was a...
Yeah, he admitted that.
Yeah,
he admitted that morally what she did was wrong.
Right, and we're talking about Brie Larson compared to Terminator and Terminator 2. There's a bit of a difference between a human being who is raised around other people, even though her mind was controlled in some capacity and she was super strong, compared to a robot, which is a thing, not a person, not a human or male or female, even though they made to look male, who's designed to kill. It also
doesn't have any kind of... Yeah, it's not got any kind of sense of morality at all.
Well, maybe neither does Captain Marvel. Maybe he's just admitting that.
Possibly.
Well, the problem with that one is the fact that the alien species clearly has some kind of... actually looks very authoritarian and has a system of laws in place to prevent... Probably has a system of laws to prevent theft and all kinds of things that we would have. At least I imagine that they would have.
It doesn't matter because she's still characterized as somebody that's uncaring because she's willing to just take from a man like that.
And here's the next super chat within the same topic from Punished Berserker. Where is it? From Andrew Clark. In T2, Arnold was hit with violence. In Captain Marvel, Bree was shown an unwanted advance. The Dawn never did anything illegal. He was forward and maybe obnoxious. So there's a big difference between the context, the character, the setting, being a naked giant man walking into a bar demanding things, and being sort of not so smoothly hit on by a biker dude trying to be nice. Bit of a different context.
Yeah, totally. But I still like the end result of the moral and ethical quandary is that Brie Larson's character is equivalent to a Terminator. I'm fully willing to accept she's a Terminator.
Yeah, or at least like she is honestly like she is part of a colonialist society, like East since the scrolls are essentially a colonialist by their logic, or like a colonialist victim society.
Here's a super chat from Punish Berserker, our producer. If women were in charge of society, we'd still be living in grass huts. And that's a comment by Camille Paglia. Yes, very
I've
famous.
heard that before.
Yes.
I love Camille. She what is it? Streetwise smart feminism or whatever. I love that.
She's a gem, that feminist. Oof.
She really is.
Here's Alex.
Look.
Sorry?
Look at how alt-right we are. We're praising a feminist.
Yeah, woo. Here's Alit Fredo's bookshelf, an emotionless robot beating someone after being attacked first, who until that point we took as the bad guy in the movie is the same as the hero Marvel woman torturing a guy who asked for a smile. Yeah, there is a bit thing called continuity from the first movie. It's like, oh, it's that guy who kills things. Oh, look, he's asking for stuff.
I don't think I said anything inaccurate when I exclaimed that if you want to make an equivalent between the Terminator and Terminator 2 and Brie Larson, that's perfectly reasonable to me. She's an emotionless robot.
And then, like, yeah, after they reveal that the T-800, that this one in T2 is actually like programmed by the Resistance, it still makes that a robot is not going to have the same kind of like moral compass that a human being should have.
And apparently, the same goes for Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Here's Jake the Surgeon. Ripley is well written. That is the reason. I think we were talking about Alien in the comparison of why people liked Ripley and what made her a good character.
One thing that was very strange to me, at least when I hopped in, that he pretty much wasn't taking into account by any means the actions of the character themselves. He was always kind of talking about the fact that Holder was a woman. Well,
Right.
I think people don't have a problem with the fact Holder's a woman, that she has a problem with her actions in the film.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think
Well,
gender would have
approved that.
Just gender swap all the characters. In comparison, Terminator 2, imagine it was Brie Larson walking to that bar as a Terminator. Or imagine Holdo was a guy with purple hair and a weird-looking, unemasculating, I guess, like outfit. You'd be like,
Like, let's say he's wearing a T-shirt and jeans.
We went through literally every single option. We went Leia. No, the fans would still think that Leia was ruined as a character. Then we went to Akbar. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because of the actions. And I said, well, what about any character? It's the actions. But then he said, well, probably not. Because, again, he has to go back to unconscious bias. He has to say, oh, well, of course, there's an inherent thing, and no fans would like the purple hair lady or whatever. But even with that taken away, they still wouldn't like it. So it's obviously all in the characters.
I'm wondering if he would, like, obviously I've had a huge problem with characters in Star Wars The Clone Wars, the two girls with very weird haircuts. The thing is, they just happen to have strange haircuts. It's not the haircuts themselves, it's the fact these characters are the fucking retarded and they add nothing to the story. It's pretty much a waste of art. So, yeah, I'm curious
like
about
bad about them, Shiny.
Oh, God, they're just... So one thing I've already said before is the dynamic of these two sisters and Ahsoka it's pretty much all one way. Ahsoka knows everything and she's also the muscle and the combat, when really they should have more knowledge of the real world than Ahsoka does, because Ahsoka has been sheltered by the Order for her entire life. She's never had to pay taxes. She's never had to buy a speeder bike. She's always had everything handed to her because she was a Jedi. And that should have been something which was picked up a lot. And I think it was even mentioned by Dave Filoni at some points, because like when the arc was first being mentioned as an unfinished arc and not being finished in the season. So they ultimately add nothing to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka brings everything to the table. And another thing is their actions. Their actions are just completely benign at some points. I can
understand why you would not necessarily like. I can see that you would not necessarily like a character like that.
Well, there's one moment in particular that's so stupid that it makes you question why these characters were wrote the way they were at all.
All right, let's continue. TLJ Screwjob says, Poe literally says, tell us that there's a plan, and RJ has to do was have Holdo say, yes, Poe, there is, but we think that might be a mole on board. And that's a very common response to understanding what to make of Holdo's character and her response if there was actually some reason to give her, and that would be, there's a mole.
But
Ultimately,
that's
the
not
limits
the,
of
the hyper. I was just going to say the limits of the hyperspace tracker are never established, which is really a problem.
Well, Rogue One actually established that the Empire had been developing hyperspace tracking. There's like a throwaway line as they're retrieving from the base in Scarif.
Another thing is that in Rogue One, the what was it called? The ship that the rebels are on with the plans, that goes through hyperspace. So how, if you can't, quotation marks, track through hyperspace, how did the Empire track this ship? And the thing is, if you were going off of initial canon would be, oh look, you just follow someone where they're going because of hyperspace lanes. But now it's treated as something which you just can't do full stop without this weird hyperspace tracking technology.
All right, here's Dennis Marquez.
They're sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
I don't mind. Go ahead. What was your point? You don't have one? That's fine by me. Okay. Here's another super chat from Dennis Marquez. He talks about double standards, but SJWs can come out and say that they hate straight white male, and everyone calls them stunning and brave. A man saying the same about any other demographic is racist, and there's like all these charts of what is acceptable to an SJW or what is acceptable from a straight white male, and every single thing ends up in a straight white male being racist. So that's just how it is. Here's another punished berserker. Thank you, sir. Rosario Dawson accidentally misgendered a person. You're an absolute bellend if you equate that with what Hurd did to Depp. There's a huge difference. We're not even sure the story of Rosario Dawson is true, whether there was actual charges being filed that would have been public knowledge by now. So I'm not sure.
Even then, even if, he covered something which was bad, sure, but surely that doesn't mean that someone else can't cover something else which is bad. Like, obviously, saying something like, this movie's not made for you, like when saying to a specific race or gender is something which is, I guess, not, I don't know what else to say other than it just seems benign. Because when did race and gender ever come into, like, if you could enjoy a comic book film?
My issue with that statement is kind of the fact that she chose A Wrinkle in Time, which Wrinkle in Time, the book, is not necessarily a love letter to black people. That was something that the director put in. But even then, I would say you are making what looks like a drug trip. Like, the movie looks like it's a drug trip. And I would say, if that's supposed to be a love letter to African American women, I'm like, African American women deserve better.
I have to go right now because I have to go do some chores right now, but it was a pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you for putting up with me and listening to all the argumentation and interrogation tactics I tried to put out there to expose some information. I'm glad that Jeremy got to clear stuff up, and I'm also glad that we got to reveal some things and chat, and I think all the super chats are about to go over them. So I'm going to be listening in the car, and it was great to see all of you guys. Southpaw, Smud, Mr. Dunn, and Shiny, of course. Shiny Trooper. And chat.
Look, that's my old name. I go by FX now.
No, I know. Shiny FX, everybody buy into that.
Guys, nice hanging out with you, Glib.
Yeah, of course, always. And when you get your stream up and going, we'll be back at it. See you guys later.
Thanks, Glib.
See you later, buddy. Love you. Love your stuff.
Love you guys too, very much.
Love you too.
Kiss, kiss, bye, bye, hug, hug. All right,
Agreed.
keep going. Dennis Marquez.
I'm probably never going to live this down now. Shiny stuff. Yeah.
Pushing an agenda over story is a bad thing. That goes without saying. I think any agenda, aside from good writing, is a bad thing in a story.
But the thing you mentioned that every quotation marks everyone has an agenda, but it's my question is like, what does he specifically mean by that? Does he mean a political agenda or a harmful agenda?
I think within the context of a production, meaning if you are this or that, you're going to push that within the story, whether you're an actor or a writer or whatever. I think that's the general idea.
So you're going to push your politics into like a film you're making or whatever you're making?
That's the implication, yes.
Okay, well, it seems like a very strange thing to say because it's certainly not necessary to push something like that into whatever media you're making.
Oh, exactly. This is kind of the way they think, that their worldview is all about politics, therefore everything's about politics, because everyone does politics.
But sure, you can put your politics into a film, but why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
I think an example of something that's actually a good political film is actually 12 Years a Slave, because it's accurately representing a very troubling time in our history, but it's doing so with brutal honesty. I think that's an example of something that's relatively good in terms of like it has an agenda, but the story makes sense and the characters are engaging.
Right, and it's more about the social dynamics than it is about necessarily the people who are in charge and who are in power about some government body. So
the story quality should definitely come before anything else.
All right, we have another Punished Berserker quote. I say a quote because he seems to be talking through these every time. Jeremy dislikes one woman who made a racist comment about him first, which means he's a reactionary woman hater. Xantard. Okay. Well, it was hard to stomach those comments from Xander, because he was making accusations about Jeremy being XYZ, and just because it's his opinion. And then he gave the defense, oh, well, you have a wife and kid defense. Like, okay, this is not helping the conversation. I was not expecting that. I thought he'd be a little more thoughtful and gave examples, but he didn't. So, and then the whole conversation went into numbering. That was bad. So, few missteps there, but we caught it. So hopefully that won't degrade our conversations in the future. Here's one from Miguel Rubio. Thanks for hosting this discussion, Smud. Glib was on point. Yeah, Glib was going a bit crazy there. I wasn't sure whether I'd slow him down or he was dominating a bit of the... I think because he's getting ready for a debate soon, that he was going nuts. So I was like, Glib, what are you doing? Calm down.
Seemed like he was in the zone and just was like going at like 90 miles an hour, and
he was definitely like directing the conversation. He was trying to be the mediator, which is totally fine, I think.
Well, he was doing a fine job, so I didn't mind.
Yeah, I would concur.
Though I did feel necessary to step in when it got quite heated, because we're ultimately here just to have a discussion. We're not here to attack.
We're not going to change any people's minds. That's what. But we had the conversation directly about Jeremy without him in the room. It's fine because we can listen to Xander's opinion and we go, oh, okay, that's nice. But when you actually have them both in the room, and you're like, okay, this is not going to work. Yeah. So I'm glad we were all here to keep everyone in check, because that was not going to fly very well if it was just those two. But I'm glad that Jeremy came on. I'm glad that Xander came on. So it worked out.
Yeah, it seemed like, Xander it can be a rather person to talk to. He can be polite. He seems like he's fairly well mannered, even if he can be a little, I don't know, at times.
Accusatory without evidence is generally how I saw it. He was saying lots of things.
Yeah, that's a fair way to describe it. And I mean, I think he can be a little heated, but he can also be very pleasant to talk to. So
yeah, we could probably have another conversation with him if we ever needed to. I don't know if we will, but he's welcome to come on if ever we cover another one of his videos. That would definitely help out whatever the devil because we still have another, 25 minutes to go. So I don't know if we're going to continue that later, but we might. Here's next comment from TLJ Screwjob. Have to respect him coming on the show at least. Yes, I agree. Goes without saying.
Yeah, it did. Like when he said, "Oh, I'm having a fun time. I'm having a fun time." To me, that was like he was trying to show face of like he's not heated or like he doesn't treat it seriously, and like that. I don't know if anyone else got the same feeling when he started saying that he's having a fun time.
Yeah, he's not taking it seriously. He's just
No,
chatting.
no. I think he was taking it seriously, but he was trying to show face that he wasn't.
Perhaps
like he was doing it.
It's a very similar opinion when I stopped talking to Jack Saints, and he's like, "Who's next?" After we were done, as if he finished me off or something. He's ready for the next debate. As if we were having a debate in the first place. It was like, dude, we spent 5 hours banging our heads against the wall. What did you get out of that? And here's Jake, the surgeon, saying, "Hi, Pauman." Okay. I guess that's in regards to Mr. Southpaw.
Oh, hey. How's it going?
Here's James Moore.
We're always
Damn,
happy to
did I
have
miss
you.
the good part? Welp, there's a reason the like button exists. Well, thank you very much for the like there, James, as well as the super chat. I appreciate it. And here's Punished Berserker again, sir. You seem to be on this board a lot. I think shiny means banal or banal.
What?
When he says benign. Well,
What?
it depends on what you're referring to.
I don't quite know what he means.
The certain sentence you made when you were referring to, I believe, someone's particular comments were benign.
All right.
And the last one is from Elite Spanker. Alrighty. Pushing your politics means you alienate half your audience, which means you will make half or less the profits. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Depending on your politics, you could have no politics, and that would be your point of not having a left or a right or any governmental control. So maybe people like to hear a story about no politics. To me, that would be working every time someone writes a story.
I have a question for that, actually. Has anyone here seen American History X?
No.
I cannot say that I have.
Oh, damn. Well, I mean, that certainly pushes a political message about, like, Nazism. So that's pushing politics in a story. I think that's a well-executed message, and I don't think it's one that's going to alienate half the audience unless you think that half the audience are Nazis. So it's like, I don't think I'm sure that what he means is like if you're trying to go with a more broad message, like, I don't know, Republicans bad, Democrat, vice versa. But I don't think it's always necessarily the case.
You can certainly push a message which happens to be politics if the story is actually about politics, as opposed to having a character or tokenist character for the sake of it, and then having them be the mouthpiece of the writer saying, "I'm going to talk about inclusivity now for 5 minutes about how awesome I am." Kind of like was it L337 in Han Solo movie? Something like that.
She was such a blatant parody. It had to have almost been deliberate.
We see it as a parody because it's a droid and it's a joke, and droids in Star Wars are generally for comic relief. But some people took it seriously. So
Yeah, like School of Movies, he loved that droid. It was like his favorite part of the movie, even though like he hated the movie Solo.
Oh, Major Lee was all over that droid, man. He was like, "Oh, droid sex,
Yeah.
of course, exactly what I wanted from Han Solo movies." It's like, thanks, General Lee or Major Lee. It's great.
One of these days, we gotta listen to School of Movies' hour-and-a-half long podcast on Solo, or at least the relevant bits that he talks about L337.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the timestamp,
I think
make it easier. Yeah.
I think the droid may have actually started off as a parody. However, when the original directors got fired, they couldn't remove this character, so they just kept it in and made it and treated it more seriously.
Yeah, it's annoying because Lord and Miller are actually like really, really funny. Made a lot of good content.
And we have one more that just came in. Thank you, Elite Spanker again. American History X cost $20 million, but made $23 million. I did not know that. That's interesting.
Okay, fair enough.
Not a box office hit, but definitely one that was politically memorable. I can remember it being coming out. Was it the 80s
Well, no, it was 1998.
Okay.
And we all know that commercial box office success is tied to quality, for sure.
All right, gentlemen.
But hold on, I'm sorry. I know that that's not the argument that was being made. I was just I'm just saying American History X, anyways, because I think it's a good movie, regardless of its box office performance.
Now, you were saying you have a podcast yourself there, Southpaw. Is that on your channel right now? Where is that?
It is on my channel right now. It's currently on hiatus because Glib was there when I was trying to record the 11th episode, and it going well in general. Regarding my recording software, and I think I was I scored a lot, and people were breaking up on my end. It was a nightmare. So I've put it on hold until I can find a way to get a fast as well as a computer with a much better graphics card and everything. So, but it's called the South Podcast. You can find it on my and I have 10 episodes. Evan is on there quite a bit. I think starting on episode 3. He's in pretty much every episode after that.
Really? I haven't heard from Evan in weeks, so I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
last I heard was that he was having. Last I heard from Evan was that he was having to move because of the coronavirus. Had to leave college or something.
Wow.
I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, he's doing okay. We've I've been playing the board game Pandemic with him and BuzzAxe in the last couple weeks, but he's been rather busy this past week. So
I gotcha. And we have another super chat. Oh boy, thank you, Punished Berserker. You get to look at fembots by Major Lee. Yeah, one of the joys of watching that movie, I guess.
I do have to say, Southpaw, that I think one of the greatest things that you've ever done is the Jenny Nicholson and father should never have had sex with his wife.
Wait, what?
Well, should never have spawned Jenny Nicholson by not having sex with his wife to create her.
Oh shit! Did I say that? Damn.
Yeah. Yes, I listen to that frequently. I even put the timestamp in.
Oh shit! Wow. Well, go ahead.
You know what, Jenny? Your dad should never have screwed your mother.
Oh shit!
That's a great way to end the stream. Thanks, there, Dunn. We really appreciate that.
This stream has been a day for surprises.
Yeah. I apologize.
I'm sure. There's more things in my personal life as well. But then you go to this, and all of a sudden we've got Xanderhal, and all of a sudden we've got Jeremy, and all of a sudden we've got this, that, and the other.
Yeah, well, it has been a fun day, guys. It's been over 2 hours and a half. Thanks for joining us. I know everyone's kind of tired and exhausted from that conversation. Obviously, we're a little lighter on the time compared to other chats out there. And thanks for staying with us. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for everyone joining us. I wish I could say thanks to everyone, but they're all gone now, or most of them are. So thanks, guys, for joining. I'd like to finish this video. I like to finish everything we start here. There's still some good nuggets of comedy and bigotry and biased opinions out there. So
I'm sure we could probably a discussion with Xander's probably enough. We could probably move on to something else.
It's up to you guys. You will tell me in the Discord after this. So thanks.
Look, guys in the Discord, please give us something a bit. I don't know, like 8080 chat, something Star Wars, something Star Trek, something possibly less. I don't know. What's the right word?
Volatile.
Politically charged.
Not negatively charged, but I guess politically charged. I suppose politically charged. That's probably where I'd be happy.
I'm still pulling for the cinematic Venom Lord of the Rings video.
The hour-long thing. Oh boy.
Oh no.
Thankfully, most of it's a skit, so we can skip over 20 minutes.
Well, we'll definitely have a discussion about that. But thanks, guys, for joining. If you have any suggestions, go to my Discord. Go to the suggestions area. leave a link there to a YouTube video, what we should cover, or even a blog post we can cover. That'd be great too. So I'm open to all suggestions. Thanks for coming, guys. Really appreciate it. Have yourself a great time. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.